Chapter 281. Chester makes a quick glance at each of us. I'm fully on board with following him for my own selfish reasons, but I'm unsure exactly what my teammates think of him. I'll accept your help, but I will have a few questions for you once we make it out of here. I give him a nod, he returns one. Then, I shift my gaze to my teammates to see their reactions. To my surprise, most of them are hardly paying attention to our deal at all. They're all more worried about getting out of here and thankful to Abby for restoring their horrendous injuries. Fisher stands up, looking a lot better but still as pale as a ghost. He's the first to speak. Let him lead the way. If this is our only clue, then so be it. Now that these cuffs are off, we can actually think straight and defend ourselves. Maybe our gear is locked up in that office too. I examine all of them more closely, realizing their item boxes and magic items are all mostly stripped from their bodies. A few rings and pendants remain, but their weapons have all been confiscated. My sword and dagger are kept in my dimensional storage, so I didn't think much of my replica item box being stolen from me. The contents of these storage pouches are much more valuable to them. Here, these should be enough for now. I take out a few higher-level longswords and daggers from various high-grade C-class dungeons for them to arm themselves in the meantime. Ari and Abby seem to agree with Fisher's earlier statement. They look ready for war. I'm not quite sure what they've been through over the last few days, but I get the feeling they're looking for revenge. Each of them takes a pair of silver daggers. Unfortunately, I don't have a bow for the archer. Maria stays close to my side and nods while picking up a long silver sword from my loot pile. It's all right for me. Whatever is fastest. I just want to save my training mentor. Thankfully, her cheerful attitude remains. Fisher finds a long sword that suits him and I place the rest of the gear back into my storage. We all walk through the metal door and out into the hall. I shift my appearance back to the blonde-haired woman who tortured me. If we'll be facing the boss, I might as well get some information out of him if possible. He's expecting number 5 to report, so it would be an immediate red flag if anyone but her shows up. I take the lead while scanning the floors above. The old man quickly follows on my left while Maria stays close to my right. Abby, Fisher, and Ari trail behind in a triangle formation. There are a lot more enemies that pop up on my radar. Dozens, in fact, just on the floor above us. The odd thing that sticks out to me is that there are only 2 of any considerable fighting status. One is on this floor and another is 2 floors above. Various level 50 to 200 workers are scattered across the upper 3 floors. It doesn't make much sense to have guards at such a low level when one elite would do the trick and probably cost much less to manage. However, who am I to judge the inner workings of an enemy organization? It takes less than 30 seconds before the guard at the end of the hall shows his face. With tan skin and short black hair, a muscular grunt pulls out a white glowing dagger. He's level 365 and has the build of a man who weighs twice as much as me. Using appraisal, I find he has a wind summoning skill and carries a bonded blade. The silver pin labeled 003 shines on his shirt collar. As we turn the winding corner, the man stares us down with anger and surprise in his eyes. He begins to swing his glowing white weapon immediately to stop us from approaching. He yells, "Number 5, what are you doing bringing the prisoners here? If they make it up to the next floor, we'll be in big trouble. Have you gone mad, Dash?" I cut him off. By propelling a single mana-imbued fragment of stone, a hole in the man's forehead materializes before he can even warn us not to come closer. The grunt falls to the floor in a pool of his own blood. It seems there are actually some highly skilled hunters working here. I haven't met a wind summoner before, but our meeting didn't last too long. It's a shame that dagger is worthless. Once bonded with another human, it's not like anyone else can use it. I speak up to my teammates while collecting his pin. We have to be very careful moving forward. There are dozens of guards up above us. I grit my teeth. They're low-leveled, but they still may know too much. It's best we take care of all of them. Before stepping onto the stairs, Chester interjects. As far as I know, the only ones who are in on this operation are the numbered guards with pins. I doubt those innocents know you even exist. The next floors are much different than the ones you escaped from below. I tighten my gaze, not fully grasping his statement. I see the wisps of green energy shine from my lie detector skill all the same. He knows something we don't, but I'm still not going to trust these words blindly. I'll see for myself. We walk up the stairs and the sound of a moving crowd, conversations, and even laughter start to fill my ears. This set of stairs is painted white and has newly installed handrails attached to the walls on both sides. There's a bright bulb at the top of the stairs that lights up the area more luminous than I've witnessed in days. Once the 6 of us get to the top of the second flight, a shiny silver double door waits for us to open it. It has a series of mana-imbued locks that would keep almost anyone below elite status out from the other side. I mutter to myself, this doesn't make sense. Why would the boss have his room so close to the surface and neglect the floors below? Footsteps are walking by and the presence of weak E and D-class magical items is much more apparent now. Chester replies in a hushed tone. The floors above are even more concealed than the floors below. Hiding in plain sight is what these crooks do best. I raise an eyebrow but am more focused on the passing hunters on the other side of this door. When old ones leave, new ones keep coming. Some go upstairs while others come down from higher floors. Half of the hunters on this floor are just standing still. None have the shielding artifacts or any identifiable features I can pinpoint. They're all just low-level grunts. Letting out a sigh, I come to the conclusion that I won't find a moment free to make my way through the door without being noticed. I slice through the locks with a thin strand of manipulated mana and let the door slowly swing open. Chester speaks again while I do. Welcome to the bottom floor of the unofficial Solaran Black Market. The voices, moving magic items, and abundance of low-level hunters finally begin to make sense. We all walk out onto the floor and it opens up much wider than the corridors below. Turning to my left and right, I see a few vendors with mana crystals, potions, and low-class gear lining the walls every few dozen meters. They have small wooden stands and bright-colored blankets on the floor with their best-selling items on top to attract customers. The floor is made of hard concrete, but the lighting systems are more modern, making it brighter up here. There's enough room for all of us to walk side by side if we wanted. It's far less cramped than the dungeon-like environment below us. There's a curved nature to this floor structure. Based on the mana signatures of people moving around, it feels like a massive circular loop. Like any good shopping center, the customer can wander around and look at the selections forever. It's similar to the underground market in the Vice-Regent's capital, just much smaller and less populated. A team of men in red robes walk by and point their heads to the floor to avoid eye contact. Everyone here would rather not be seen. They aren't guards, they're just citizens in the market. Chester points to the left as each one of us walks out from the silver double door. The fastest path to the second floor is this way. That's where we'll find the boss. Chapter 282. I do another quick scan to find that, including the floor we stand on, there are only 3 more to the surface. Just as Chester said, there's only one hunter of any power level even close to ours in the immediate vicinity. Considering this, another issue comes to mind. The numbered badges on the agents that I've been killing have only been rising. The last one on the floor below was number 3. If this were to follow any ordinary pattern, there should be at least 2 more left. Number 2 and number 1. Plus, I can't sense any other presence near the high-level hunter on my radar. Maybe they're more skilled at hiding than I thought. I speak up in a hushed tone to Chester as we begin to walk. So, do you know anything about this guy? What's the point of having a black market in a city like this anyway? Isn't the entire desert its own off-the-grid market, isn't it? He chuckles. Right, you all aren't from around here. I never mentioned that to him, but maybe given our circumstances it's fairly easy to tell. So, I don't mind his whispered statement. The old man continues as we pass the first concentrated region of merchants that chirp at us with prices, but stop as soon as we show our disinterest. Chester ignores them entirely. Your intuition is correct. There's no real reason to have a black market district in a settlement like this. The tax on dungeon loot is so low, and rarely enforced, that there isn't much of a market difference between selling on the street or here underground. I nod slowly as we pass silver doors similar to the one we walked out from and step over old wooden crates that must have come from makeshift stands or raw materials being sold here in the past. The old man keeps talking. I listen with interest. Still, this isn't a lawless city. There are government officials in charge, and basic human law must be followed or it'd be utter chaos. Even if we are disconnected from the outside world, that doesn't mean the hierarchy of power structures change overnight. There are always people that want things done without those above knowing about it. I smirk. Yep, understood. Paranoia runs deep everywhere, even if the association isn't in control. Some citizens don't want anyone messing around in their daily lives, especially their money. No questions asked. It makes sense. Chester shrugs. Sure, that may play a role. More importantly, special artifact crafting orders are placed here. It's known that, for the right price, anything can be bought. Nothing is off limits, not even items or information from the outside world. When a problem can't be solved by regular means, most come here to get it solved. He pauses. Confidentiality is tight as well. No one knows who runs the place and no one really bothers to ask. No matter the request small or large, as long as you have enough money, it's always completed and no one will ever know you asked. We round another bend, passing a few groups of men and women in robes and cloaks that hide their faces. Occasionally, the familiar-looking silver doors that are usually tightly fashioned to the walls are missing entirely or severely damaged. Some lead down flights of steps just like the ones we came up, while others show wide-open warehouse-like rooms. On even rarer occasion, there are deep holes in the floor dropping further down into the shadowy depths of more abandoned underground hallways and dark rooms. The underside of this city is larger than I'd ever imagined. Everyone following is tense. I can feel their mana flowing through them at a much faster speed than its normal resting rate. They're on the verge of activating their skills at any sign of trouble. I'm the only one here that knows a major threat isn't nearby. I speak up as a large opening in the cement wall shows a sturdy-looking staircase up to the next floor. Stay on guard, but there's no need to be so nervous. The boss isn't a high-level elite or anything. I'm sure any one of us could take them on alone. If he was powerful enough to take us on, I'm sure he would have cleared the labyrinth himself and wouldn't have been in this mess. The grips on their weapons loosen, and I feel the hot churning mana in my teammates' veins being too slow as they realize I have a good point. We walk up the flight of stairs to the next floor. This section of the market is segmented out into more district regions. Every vendor has their space, and it's marked off by a straight black painted line every 10 to 20 meters. The gear is more organized and of much higher quality. There are long tables, white cloth coverings, and even multiple workers at some of the stands. There are full businesses down here. It's mostly high-grade D-class gear for sale. The perfect balance of affordability for the common hunter and increased quality to drive a high and consistent price. Chester speaks while pointing down the hall. It's this way. I can take you near, but I don't know how I'd possibly get you inside. You'll have to figure that part out on your own. I nod, extending my perception's range to find a level rating over 400 behind a few odd mana-imbued barriers. They seem like more than enough to keep out a B-class threat. The unique structures are a similar strength to the mana shielding in high-grade training rooms, possibly even greater. Plus, there's 3 layers of them. The readings are no more than 200 meters away, and hardly 15 meters off from the main path. I'd like to get a closer look to see exactly what these barriers are. This boss is hiding in plain sight, yet he's behind a fortress in the center of a black market that is more secure than most government training facilities. I grin. Interesting. Chester looks at me with worry in his eyes. I reassure him by pointing to my face. I'll have an easy enough time finding a way in with this disguise. Don't worry. We make our way down the brightly lit hall until the buzzing sound of mana is audible. The vendors thin out around this section of the market, and most hunters that are shopping walk around the loop in the opposite direction so as not to come in contact with this dead zone. The black lines that separate the hall into sections stop and the area is empty. The lights shine white instead of their usual dull yellow. The concrete walls and floor are clean, like they were scrubbed clean with water magic recently. It's the polar opposite of the site we just left. I speak. It may be best if I go in here alone. I'm sure it would only lead to an instantaneous fight if you all showed your faces. If only I show up, there's a possibility for me to scrap some more information. After a few murmurs and back and forth, they agree. All 5 of them step back as I walk forward into the buzzing and empty section of the market. The curved nature of the walls makes every step forward feel like I'm walking much further and faster than I actually am. My teammates disappear behind me, and a square-shaped silver door almost twice as tall as me appears in my field of view. It looks like a bank vault, and hums loudly, even shaking the floor with its power. The metal wall is thick and reinforced with mana shielding on both sides. There is a thin 1-meter wide gap between 2 more vault-like doors of the same caliber stacked behind it. I'm curious to know if a fully powered fire magic imbued slash could make its way through. They may pose a challenge if I have to break in with force. A voice rings out from a small black box above the door before I have the chance to test out my curiosity. It's a woman's voice. This surprises me. It's not the black market warlord of a man I was expecting. Her soothing tone echoes through my ears. Number 5. Back so soon? This must mean good news. Please, come in. The circular handle on the front of the vault turns on its own. Swings open toward me, reveals the picture-perfect copy of a door behind it. A moment of silence passes. Then the second metal door's handle spins, clicks, and swings open just like the one before. The last door opens in the same manner, and I begin to walk forward, accepting my invitation into the boss lair. Chapter 283. The silver doors slowly open and I walk through as the woman's voice from the black box stops. The buzzing sound of ambient mana surrounding me is very loud. It only gets more violent the deeper I walk through. A glowing white light distorted the air in front of me, but using my perception skills I can tell there's a room just 5 meters ahead. There's another odd barrier that connects the third door to the room before me, but I sense no ill intent or power-draining abilities attached to it. It's light gray and would not be perceivable without my all-seeing eye. The odd energy is in the shape of a small dome surrounding the person inside. I step through. The buzzing stops entirely. The bright white glow of mana shielding fades away behind me too. The room is silent. All I'm left to see is a fair-skinned woman with long black hair and violet-colored eyes. She sits in a tall black chair behind a mahogany desk. The room is circular and feels like a private study. The walls around me are covered in artifacts, colorful paintings, and intricate maps of the desert. Beautiful furniture lines the walls and are separated by tables covered by velvet cloths, and lush greenhouse plants liven up the mood. There are potions in colors I've never seen before, and weapons that must drop from monsters I've never fought before. The floor beneath my feet makes an eye-catching pattern of red, yellow, and orange material to create an extravagant-looking carpet. I try my best to keep my eyes facing forward, acting natural as I'm in disguise. But the room around me leaves me in a state of awe. The woman in front of me pays no mind to my wandering gaze and continues to speak in the same tone as she did over the black speaker. The boss is out for a while. He left for important business late last night. Whatever news you're here to tell him is going to have to wait. A shiny silver pin labeled 002 is on the upper portion of her tight black combat suit, raises more questions. I use inspect and appraisal. LV 414. Active items. Platinum Amulet of Protection, plus 85% defense. Golden Amulet of Strength, plus 70% strength. Golden Ring of Magic, plus 65% mental strength. Silver Ring of Protection, plus 45% defense. High-grade A-class shielding artifact, 4 out of 10. IC. Active skills. Hush. Legendary grade. Stealth. She has an upgraded version of that shielding artifact, and her hush skill must have something to do with the lack of noise in the room around us. The woman continues as I come to a halt less than 2 meters in front of her desk. He's obsessing over those black stones that elite mage had on her. I raise an eyebrow, thinking back to Lydia telling me she would collect more drops from those demonic energy-wielding knights. I haven't fully examined those stones myself yet, but it seems their boss is taking an interest in them. The woman sees my confusion and continues. I don't get it either. That ice mage wouldn't say a word, so he's taken her to the observatory for a private interrogation. The boss knows best, so we shouldn't question him. I nod slowly, still examining the room around me carefully. I spot a collection of item boxes at the back edge of the wooden desk in a small open-topped black box. The woman sitting down gives me a glare and changes her tone. Yeah, these are the captive's items, don't get any bright ideas. They'll be going up for auction later this week. I tighten my lips and gulp. She chuckles and continues. Anyway, how's the interrogation going? Will you be ready to present him and that old man by sunrise in 3 days? We'll have the crafter bring a one-time use artifact to scrape any leftover information together that your lie detector missed. I stand in silence thinking to myself. Everything she's saying is clicking together like a puzzle in my mind. The observatory must be where the old man was doing research and was kidnapped by this organization. The stones Lydia collected are drops from monsters wielding demonic energy, and they're somehow related to the abyss. Lastly, the labyrinth and archdemon are connected to all of this too. But how? I need to know more. The woman's voice enters my ears again, interrupting my racing thoughts. Hello? Is everything okay? Did that association hunter finally break you? You didn't kill him, did you? The boss would not be happy about that. She's waving her hand in front of my face, waiting for a response. The longer I don't give her what she's expecting, the more suspicious she'll become. I set out a sigh. It seems like this is all the information I'll be extracting today. She knows too much, but luckily she's given me many clues to help my hunt near its end. Just one more after her, it seems. I begin charging up by absorbing the mana in the air from the doors behind me. In one swift movement without changing the expression on my face, I grab my sword from item storage and swing it across my body at her at point-blank range to release a wave of pure pink mana. I would have used fire magic to ensure a quick victory, but if anything were to go wrong, the entire room would go up in flames, and that could lead to many other problems. To my surprise, she reacts quickly. Her eyes open wide while activating her shielding artifact while jumping to my right side out of her chair. Her easygoing, smug expression instantly changes to cool and calculated killing intent. An explosion of white mana vibrates through the air as my light pink crescent of pure energy collides with the shielding. It holds up for a moment, but cracks under pressure, and my attack manages to pierce through, leaving a horrific gash across her body. Although A-class in name, I have my suspicions the craftsman who made these items is overhyping his work with the artifact names. The B-class shielding from earlier grunts was sliced through like it wasn't even there, and this A-class is hardly on par with a ranked-up boss monster. Still, it is impressive that a magic item can replicate such intense mana control without a competent wielder using it. She dives to the floor and reaches her hand to the underside of the desk while boosting her shielding artifact again. I hear a click. Then she rolls to the floor away from the wooden table and black armchair. Another layer of mana envelopes her. Fractions of a second later, it pulses again. Another layer forms, and the protective white glow around her only gets thicker. I throw another bright pink mana-imbued slash at her while she activates stealth and tries to evade my vision. Unfortunately, it makes no difference at all. I can see her as clear as day. The attack hits her straight on and destroys both new layers of her shielding, but does manage to slightly weaken the brunt of the blast. I grit my teeth in annoyance and throw another. You put up the best fight so far. I'm looking forward to meeting your leader. The final attack finishes her off. I don't give her the chance to respond. A series of blue text pops up over her body. Use absorption. Skill. Hush. Legendary grade. Yes. No. I choose yes quickly, collect the artifact labeled 002 from her body, and then run over to the desk to store the item boxes of my teammates in my item storage. Before I get a chance to look around the room for any more clues, I hear a loud thud. It's followed by the splintering and cracking of wood. Then, another loud thud. Then, another. The heavy metal doors that were previously open behind me shut one by one in rapid succession. On top of that fact, the walls and ceiling start to slowly close in. The magic items and paintings on the wall shake and rumble as the room begins to shrink. The loud buzzing sound of mana creeps back into my ears from all sides as the woman's hush skill is no longer active. She lies in a puddle of blood with dead eyes and a wide grin. Her final gaze points toward the glowing red button she pressed underneath the boss desk. Chapter 284. She triggered a death switch. That red button activated a security precaution to destroy evidence and trap any intruders inside if their room is compromised. I've got to give this woman credit. She caught on to the situation pretty quickly and reacted in a professional and timely manner. Nevertheless, I have to focus and get as much gear as I can. Then, get out of here. My eyes dart to the other side of the wooden desk to see a bundle of mana crystals and 2 piles of potions. One half of them glows bright white and the other glows gold. Without thinking twice, I open my storage and let them all fall in. The buzzing mana shielding from the doors begins to spread throughout the outer walls of the whole room as they shrink toward me fast. I take out my blade and begin to charge up an attack, but hesitate on going all out. There's an entire floor above me, not to mention an entire city above that. If I damage the structural integrity of this marketplace, I'll be in a much bigger predicament. I don't mind killing those who get in the way of my freedom, but innocent bystanders don't need to get hurt if I can manage it. I release a refined strike of pure pink mana at the silver door. It's similar to the strength I threw at the woman earlier. A loud crack and buzzing sound splits through the mana shielding and leaves a thick cut on the hard metal, but my slash is stopped by the next layer of shielding behind it. The energy dispersed from the blast makes the walls and ceiling above me shudder and creak as they close in at a steady rate. The shielding on the door regenerates almost instantly, bringing me back to square one. Rolling my eyes, I mutter under my breath in a sarcastic tone. Great! I react and try to let out a mana blade with 25% more power. On impact, even more white energy erupts from the broken shielding and the ground shakes. The blade slices through the first door's front and back shielding but gets blocked by the second. My jaw tightens as the room shakes and deep cracks start to form in the ceiling and walls. Small bits of rubble fall and the sound of heavy metal support beams around me quivering and bending at odd angles makes me start to rethink my approach. To make it through all 3 doors, it'll take a full-powered strike, but the backlash will surely take out everything above and below me for at least 15 to 20 meters. There's only a single layer of shielding behind these walls, floor and ceiling. It's a weaker point than the door, but attacking it directly would end in a similar result. If I don't destroy this shielding mechanism entirely, it seems it will regenerate indefinitely. Blasting it to pieces could work, but it may be futile as well. An act of mass destruction may just be for nothing. It would be best if I avoid that option. My eyes dart around the room as the tables and small dressers begin to tip over. Painting and magic items fall off the walls. One of the works of art shows a man in a silver suit of armor holding a golden sword on top of a green hill. He's facing off against a black dragon with a red underside covered in dark flames. I turn to the other wall as one of the large trophy cases full of jewelry, daggers, and swords starts to tip over and fall. The front glass rattles as it falls toward the floor. Fractions of a second before it hits, I open a spatial magic portal below it, and dozens of items and artifacts fall into my storage. Might as well take something if I'll all just be crushed or destroyed anyway. I step back, bracing myself against the mahogany desk. Then something clicks. Right? If it were destroyed, I deactivate all my active skills and place my blade back into my storage system while expelling any hint of magic in my system before attempting my next idea. The room around me goes black and white as my demonic energy manipulation skill activates. The buzzing noises stop and all my mana sensory shuts off too. It's still a strange phenomenon, but familiar enough now that I don't hesitate to eject a full unit of demonic energy from my core directly at the door. The second I do and my pathways are clear, I deactivate my skill and reboot my mana senses. I don't dare activate my shielding. The color splashes back into my vision as the crackling sound of mana forcibly being destroyed in a violent chain reaction fills my ear. The entire front door of the chamber door bursts into sparks. It spreads around the outer layer of the room and seeps into the doors behind it as well. The overwhelming power of the shielding was a burden when trying to slash through it with brute force, but it's a blessing in disguise when reacting with this dark foreign matter. The stronger and faster the mana flow is, the quicker and stronger it burns and crackles away. My eyes open wide in awe as the violent sparks engulf the doors and the entirety of the room in a matter of seconds. The walls continue to close in as the sparks get more and more violent, making it hard to even hear myself think. From the data I've gathered so far, as long as I don't use any mana shielding, or directly touch the sparks while using an active skill, it will not harm me. I stand my ground and wait as the display of light hits its climax. The walls around me are covered in yellow and white miniature explosions, and any magic items with enchantments or pure mana flowing through them get completely destroyed on the spot. It's a scary sight, but I trust my intuition. I grin as the reaction starts to get quieter. As it does, the moving walls around me come to a halt too. Whatever magic mechanism was pushing them toward me has been destroyed. After just 15 seconds, the entire room is left in a state of dust and ash. A few sparks crackle here and there. Then they all go completely dark. The 3 sets of silver vault-like doors have crumbled to pieces, fallen victim to my unique attack. Other than the small cracks and falling dust from the ceiling, the room is silent. All I can hear is my heart beating and footsteps crunching the decimated furniture, art, and magic items as I walk out the front door. I take a right turn to make my way back to my teammates, but the sound of running footsteps tells me I won't have to wait long. All 5 of them come running around the corner with weapons in hand and stern expressions across their faces. Even Chester trails behind, keeping up with the other as best he can. However, they slow their sprint and power down their skills as they see me walk out from the blackened doorway completely unscathed. No one says a word, they just come to a halt. I'm alone, not with our teammate that they all expected me to rescue. It's clear there was a power struggle that just took place, and I appear to be the lone survivor. I let out a sigh and put on a confident smile. Don't worry, it isn't as dire as it seems. Though I've got good news and bad news. Silence fills the well-lit hallway as my words echo through their ears. The final charred remains of a structure fall over in the room behind me, making a loud thudding sound before I continue. It only heightens the suspense. The bad news is the boss wasn't here. Neither was Lydia. The good news is, I believe we have more than enough information to find out exactly where they've taken her. To find our teammate, we'll have to venture near the abyss. Chapter 285. It's not urgent, but we have some work to do. We'll save Lydia in 3 days. The meeting at sunrise in 3 days is supposed to take place at an observatory by the abyss. This is where I'll be able to find this mysterious boss, as well as a new hidden variable. A craftsman capable of making mind-reading items. The exact location of this hideout is still unknown, but at least we have a reference and some very solid clues. We may be in a rush to get information, but the immediate threat to Lydia's life has been averted for now. I reach into my dimensional storage and take out the pile of item boxes that were lying out on the desk before the room was completely destroyed. Here, I managed to find all your gear too. My teammates pause for a moment, still taking in my words from earlier and staring at the sight before their eyes. The burnt and decimated remains of the office behind me raise too many questions to ask, so they just take their item boxes and sort out which one belongs to each of them. Ari speaks up first. I think our best plan of action is to get out of here, then everyone can share their findings once we have a safe and secure place to talk. I nod. Agreed. My gaze travels left and right while I scan the marketplace, finding the point nearby on this floor where most people are traveling upward. I point in that direction, but the old man speaks while facing the same way before I do. If you need a safe place to stay, my home may suffice. It's small, but not near the center of the city. I'm happy to let you stay for a while. Plus, now I feel obligated to help. I had no idea you were heading to the abyss. Abby looks hesitant and speaks while tying her item box around her waist. What's the abyss? And how can we trust him? Won't an old man just slow us down? The green-haired healer has been in a very bad mood ever since we were released, and rightfully so. I understand why she's pissed off, so I respond mid-sigh, trying to de-escalate the situation. We can trust him. Chester is as much a victim as all of us. He actually has the key to solving the final clue in finding Lydia. We just need a moment to talk without wandering eyes. I look around the corridor, implying that anyone could be watching. Abby begins to interject but decides to nod and tighten her lips. Maria chimes in. I'm exhausted and starving. I think we're all in the same boat here. Both Ari and Fisher shrug and agree. The archer looks like he's thinking deeply about something still, while the water mage appears paranoid and pale in the face. Hopefully, a hot meal will get his color back. I turn to the old man with a smile. Great, it's settled. Lead the way. He happily agrees, and we make our way through the next section of the black market. A few heads turn as we walk out of the marketplace's dead zone, especially following the loud clang and explosion that could be heard throughout the entire floor. A few lights flicker, and it's clear we were up to no good, but we run into no trouble while getting to the surface. We keep our heads down and mind our own business. I've reverted back to my original form, but keep the picture of the number 5 and now number 2 agents clear in my mind. I have a feeling their appearances may come in handy moving forward. As the 6 of us make it up a final flight of stairs, 2 oversized and underleveled guards open the silver doors to the surface. They're both between level 250 and 300. They don't say a word, but nod and let us by. It seems they're just put in place for appearances, to make sure no troublemakers act up down here. For all I know, they could be grunts for the Inner Circle organization too, but with no identification pins or acts of hostility, it's very unlikely they're high up enough in the chain of command to know who we are. Once we walk through and set foot on the street outside, I'm surprised to find we're in the middle of the city. The blue sky and golden sun are directly overhead. It must be around noon. I put a hand in the air and squint as everyone else follows. The high-rising silver towers shoot up from the earth all around us, and the Solaran dungeon hub is nearby too. Less than 500 meters away, in fact. From a quick deduction, it's clear that that was the source of my demonic energy absorption while locked up. One of those dungeons is giving off more than just excess mana into the environment. Other than these few landmarks, I'm completely disorientated. This city is a foreign place to me. I'm sure I could find a place to eat and sleep on my own given enough time to wander around, but taking one good look at my party, they're beyond tired. It wasn't as clear to see down in the cells or open market, but they've taken a serious beating and need a place to rest as soon as possible. I take a deep breath in and out of fresh air, then speak up with a smile. Chester, take the lead. We make our way through town following the old man as he confidently makes sharp turns and weaves through the busy midday city streets. We pass the towers, then walk through a high-tech training and magic item marketplace, then a middle-class residential area. The 6 of us take a quick detour as the old man stops to go into a grocery store at the edge of this district. We spot him a few silver coins and he does a bit of shopping before finally leading us to his neighborhood. We're on the northeast portion of Solara, and apartment buildings along with small single-person-owned homes are much more spread out. Some even have small front yards. There are little to no shops, and hardly any people walking out on the streets. It's not a poor area, but not a rich one either. It's just an oddly undeveloped outer region of the city. Some of the empty lots are covered in sand as they haven't been cleared after the last sandstorm. No residents care to clean up land they don't own, and the Solaran government seems to neglect this part of town more than its richer areas. The old man's home is cozy and compact, but much larger than I expected it to be. It's on its own small plot of land, with other similar 2-story houses lining the streets nearby as well. He walks up the front steps of the porch and waves for us to come in while holding a bag of freshly purchased food in his free hand. Come on in. Please, rest and make yourselves comfortable. I'll make us something to eat in the meantime. With the door propped open, each of us walks inside with curiosity. His home is covered in magic items and trinkets. There are maps and artwork on the walls of the main living room, even more engravement than the office I just blew to pieces. I assumed he was a researcher or a merchant, but this was not what I imagined at all. Chester walks through a door to the kitchen and points to the 3 long couches lining the walls of his wide-open living room. Some are covered in artifacts and magic item clutter, while coffee tables and dressers are stacked in between. I wasn't expecting guests. Feel free to move everything on the couches to any of the open tables. It's not delicate. Then he points up a narrow flight of stairs. There's a shower upstairs and an extra bedroom on the right. Clean up and I'll have a meal ready for all of you soon. Then we can get down to business. As urgently as we all want to get to the bottom of this, Chester is right. We will all function better with full stomachs and some real rest. One by one we agree and clean up to change into spare clothes brought along in our storage. Meanwhile, the scent of spices fills the air, making my mouth water while waiting. Maria and I make ourselves comfortable on the couch nearest to the door leading to the kitchen, Air and Abby in the middle, then Fisher near the exit. Order up. The old man comes around the corner as we're all on the verge of dozing off to sleep. He carries steaming hot bowls of vegetables, meats, and soups, with rice and fresh fruits on the sides. He pulls up a small table and a comfortable-looking chair of his own. With a quick thank you, we all dig in without saying another word. After nights trapped in a cell and chained to a table without food and water, it's hard to tell if Chester is a master chef or if we're just severely nutrient-deprived. Either way, Abby finally lightens up and speaks out loud what we're all thinking. This is the best meal I've ever eaten. Only smiles fill the room as we finish our food, but the threat to our teammate and the questions of the abyss still loom in the back of all of our minds. After a satisfying meal, we all sit back and enjoy our small moment of bliss. Chapter 286. All right, let's get down to business. After a nice meal and a hot shower, we are all aware that the nightmare of captivity and torture is over. Our new mission is to piece together every bit of information we have to save our friend. After my initial statement breaking our food coma, all eyes are on me. I look around the room a few times, then activate my newest skill. Hush! A near-invisible gray orb of energy expands from my index finger and surrounds the entire room. All sounds of the outside world completely vanish, and we're isolated by an impenetrable sound barrier. It doesn't hold any physical mass and can be walked through without any external sensation. Unless you're of an elite-level mana control status, it would not be possible to detect. My teammates' eyes begin to wander, so I explain. It's a sound barrier, a new ability I picked up recently. Ari, Abby, and Maria are used to my random odd new abilities, but Fisher and the old man look amazed. Still, they let me continue in the silence. Let's recount the last few days. Mention any slip of the tongue from the guards, or even a painting on the wall that you noticed off. Anything and everything helps. All extra information is good information. Our first priority is finding our teammate, but there's something much bigger at play here too. With a round of attentive nods in my direction, I begin to recall the events of the last few days. I start with the pins that act as shielding, then the name of their organization, and finally the ranking system they seem to follow. Placing the silver 002 badge on a small coffee table, I look over to Chester. What do you think? I've never seen a shielding artifact like this before. It's easily on par with ranked-up bosses. He examines the pin as I continue on about the short-haired blonde's torture techniques and how she mentioned Brutus giving up information on all of us. Abby gets red-faced at this point and interjects through gritted teeth. So they were involved. That's the final straw. Ever since I joined the association, they've only treated me like a well-paid slave. All of this information being held from us while we risk our lives only to be sold out to the highest bidder. I don't know about you guys, but I'm not going back. I nod with a grin. Agreed. Brutus deserves a taste of his own medicine. Next, I carefully explain why they were interrogating me for so long, and the reason for their questioning Lydia. While leaving out the part where I myself have the power to wield demonic energy, I explain how they wanted information on the final boss room as well as details on items Lydia was farming on the floor below. Maria and Fisher are angered by this point. The blue-haired mage is the first to speak. So that's what they meant. I raise an eyebrow as he continues. While I was being questioned, the guard wouldn't stop asking me about black stones. He wanted to know if I was hiding any. Over. And over. He looks back down at his lap. We're known to party together, so maybe they had some past intel and wanted to be thorough. He mutters to himself, and an blue light flickers in his eyes. I'll make their leader pay. They have no idea who they're messing with. My gaze turns to my right as Maria begins to speak, adding to his frustration. I just want to get Lydia back and make whoever took her away suffer. A cool sensation fills the room as her ambient ice magic drops the temperature by a few degrees. Ari doesn't seem too concerned with the current matter at hand. He speaks up, piecing together a separate matter. The Abyss. What do you know about the Abyss? I sigh, turning to Chester. Not much at all, actually. I was hoping our researcher here could fill us in on the details. Their number 2 in charge said they would be a meeting at sunrise in 3 days at the observatory near the Abyss. With enough all-seeing eye and enemy detection scans of the city with days to do so, I'm sure I could find this place on my own. However, information from this source may give some extra insight. He chuckles. I'm just an old curious merchant. Researching the old artifacts I've collected over the years is more of a hobby than an official title. But I'll gladly take the role. He smiles and holds the silver pin up in the air. First things first. This is a fascinating piece. It's made by a craftsman on a level I've never witnessed before. There are no items like this available on the open market, and it's man-made without a doubt. He sighs. With that being said, the organization we've made an enemy of is one that has been running the underworld of this city for quite a while. Their leader is slick and elusive, while the underlings are killed, captured, and swapped out often. There have been a few occasions in which average Solaran hunters turned in the Inner Circle's thugs. We all stare at him wide-eyed, keen to hear what he has to say next. It's known that a near-impenetrable base was operating in the black market, but not even the Solaran government cared to step in. Sometimes when they have a task too heavy to handle, they'll ask the Inner Circle to get it done. Silence fills the room again. I speak up with a suspicious tone. So these guys are well known? So much for a secret organization. Chester laughs. No, you've got a point. They're only well known in the higher circles. I would never know much about them if their underlings hadn't come to my old pawn shop for rare items every once in a while over the years. I'm retired now, but I've watched this city grow along with the people in it. I'd be blind to not know how things work around here. There's a long pause. Then he stares me in the eyes. I know you're strong. Stronger than any hunter I've ever met, in fact. Just know, if you make an enemy of the Inner Circle, you'll either die or be forced to see how deep the rabbit hole really goes. Another long pause follows as I ponder the old man's words. Then I respond. I understand. I'd like to know everything. A thin smile curls onto the corner of Chester's lips. Then he gets up from his seat and starts to head upstairs. One moment. I have exactly what you're looking for. Less than 30 seconds pass, but the building tension in the room grows, making it seem like an hour passes before he finally comes walking down the creaking wooden steps holding a stack of papers. Here. Everything I know from researching the anomaly known as the Abyss. Chester places the papers on a center coffee table and we all lean in to take a look. There are illegible scribbles and drawings of the city within the desert with red excess around its borders labeled with dates. I'll start from the beginning. The more context you have, the more this will make sense to you younger ones. He explains. Out in the Dark Continent, each sector has a major city capital with a labyrinth attached. This is Sector 4, technically the weakest region of them all. We all nod, not wanting to miss a word. Just like major countries outside the walls, the more magic energy enters the labyrinth, the bigger it becomes. He swallows. If you don't mind me asking, how many floors did this one have? I reply, 26. Chester thinks for a moment. Interesting. Considering that the vice-region capital you all came from has well over 10 times as many inhabitants and divers that we have here, it's safe to assume it has 50 or more floors. Fisher interjects. So what? The floor number doubles for the increased population of a region for every power of 10. This isn't secret information. What's that have to do with any of this? The old man chuckles. It has much more to do with it than you may think. The 8 major powers partnered with the association rule the world in modern times. The Vice region may have one of the largest economies and highest populations today, but many forget about the capital city that stood here in the 9th region before the war. The old man takes a long breath to cool his nerves. Deep within the abyss, you will find the greatest forgotten labyrinth of them all. Chapter 287. I whisper under my breath. No way. Of course. Chester smiles and points to one of the more precisely drawn maps on his notebook papers, happily eyeing me as he realizes I'm piecing together the puzzle on my own. One of the papers has a ring separated into 4 sections labeled 1 to 4 and a black void in the center of it. He moves it out of the way and points more specifically to a detailed map of Sector 4 with detailed markings. The drawings show the city of Solara, then a series of structures with notes and descriptions right between the city and the approaching black void. One of the structures is labeled the observatory. There's a small map key that outlines the rough distance between points. It's about 10 kilometers off the northeastern border, so about a few hour-long trek at a moderate speed. He speaks. This right here is the region I was doing research on over the last few weeks before I was kidnapped by the Inner Circle and questioned for days. There's an abandoned stargazing observatory that is atop a large cliff right on the edge of the incoming abyss. Ari interrupts. Incoming? What do you mean by incoming? And north, east? Chester interrupts. Yes, northeast. This is the closest portion of the city to the abyss. With every surge, the darkness grows closer. It's only gotten significantly worse over the last few months. Most of the neighboring villages outside the city were evacuated. Chester pauses. We have no idea what happens once they're swallowed up. Ari keeps his cool, calculated expression, seemingly not disturbed by this news but thinking hard. The old man goes on. Most of the tests I've been doing have been to find the best way to reverse its spread, but the matter is impossible to manage and has a violent reaction to any magic that interacts with it. The most fascinating discovery so far is that if a person doesn't activate their magic skills and carries no enchanted items, they can walk through like it is heavy air. I nod, realizing exactly what this substance is. He continues. It isn't harmful to humans as long as no mana interacts with it. Actually, if we take sight and touch out of the equation, the substance is basically not even there. It doesn't show up on any radars and gives off no heat or energy readings no matter what I do. The only problem is the darkness and increasing density the further we travel in. There have even been rumors of monsters that lurk deep within the abyss. No one has managed to kill one yet or directly prove their existence. But I've heard one roar with my own ears just a few nights back before I was caught. Chester stops talking, giving all of us a moment to digest everything he's just said. To me, it sounds like this abyss is refined and used up demonic energy. The properties he's described and the inability for me to sense or absorb it add up. This is the excess energy that is produced from some reaction that happens every time there is a surge. The monsters he talks about, on the other hand, confuse me quite a bit. For a monster to survive or even thrive in an environment like this, it would need the ability to control its mana output and not react with the energy around it. Meaning they're all at least ranked up beasts. Or, an even more interesting idea, they're not wielding mana at all. Just like the Black Knights. Demonic creatures. I point down at the map and finally speak up. The corners of my lips turn up with curiosity. So it'll be quite simple. We show up at their meeting spot and rescue Lydia. Just like that. If their underlings were this weak, I'm sure the 5 of us can handle their leader. This is the main plan. After all, I'm just more interested in what lies beyond. Chester nods slowly, looking down at the silver 002 pin that is still in his hand, then up at all of us. I wouldn't be so sure about that. As I said before, his underlings are merely pawns in the operation. Considering the rare gear I've seen move through Solara over the years, and the equipment that man had on the one time I had the chance of making his acquaintance, I'd say he's at least on par with all of you. There's a long pause before he continues. Plus, whoever made this artifact must be on another level altogether. It almost feels mythical. If you're positive they'll be at this meeting too, I'm sure they will not go down easily. This pin is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to their potential power. My heart skips a beat at his wording. I interject. Mythical? Why use that term? I swallow as he shrugs and replies. No reason. I'm not sure. I've just never seen an artifact of this caliber. It feels as though it's a natural dungeon drop, but it is clearly man-made. The Inner Circle branding makes that known. The craftsmanship of an item like this is second to none. That is why. He looks up at me but changes his tone when he sees my confusion. All I'm saying is, it's best not to be overconfident in a situation like this. The Inner Circle is known to never fail a request, so don't take them lightly just because you're elites. This organization is much larger than just Sector 4. There are powerful people in every region of the Dark Continent. More powerful than you, I'm sure of it. I nod with tightened lips. Understood. The rest of my teammates take his warning to heart as well. We all shift to a much more serious and strategic conversation. The 6 of us begin to devise a simple plan of action to follow over the next couple of days to prepare for our surprise attack. Taking Chester's words into consideration, all 5 of us will use our strengths to ensure the success of this assault. We all have simple tasks to carry out. Maria and Abby will stock up on mana and HP potions in the city while not being seen by wondering eyes. Their smaller frames will draw less attention, and natural charm may make it easier to interact with the public. They will spy on nearby mercenary bars as well as government buildings to be on the lookout for association activity, Solaran guards, or any whispers in the underground market, just to make sure we're not being targeted or found out. Next, Fisher and Ari are both newly ranked up, so they want to get some training in. Both of them have yet to see their full potential in combat, so the 2 of them will be training in shielding rooms as well as the dungeons at night during their less crowded hours. Chester explains that it takes roughly 1 bronze to enter an E-class dungeon, 10 bronze to enter a D-class, and 1 silver to enter a C-class. These aren't exact prices because daily rates change and there are no letter ratings out here in the desert. The rates are low, and the security is even lower. Their dives will be more than enough to turn a profit while training. The old man has a job of his own too. I take the display case from the Inner Circle office out of my item storage with dozens of magical artifacts, items, and those odd-colored potions. His task is to find potential anonymous buyers for all of it and to make sure combat items helpful to us will be left behind for personal use. His appraisal skill may be at a lower rank than mine, but his eye for items and connections in this city are far greater. All items will be run by me before he places them up for auction, just in case. Finally, my job will be to venture out into the desert and use my long-range perception skills to keep an eye on the observatory. I'll be standing guard to see if anyone enters or leaves the general area. More precisely, I'll be doing some of my own research on the abyss. I want to see this phenomenon for myself. If any unusual activity occurs or oddities in our assignments need to be made known, we report back at Chester's home every night and share our findings. After delegating responsibilities for tomorrow, all 6 of us fall asleep in the comfort of Chester's cozy living room. It's going to be a long 3 days ahead of us. But now we have a plan. Chapter 288. The next morning we all wake up at the crack of dawn. Falling asleep early in the day gives us more than enough time to fully recover. After a quick breakfast made by Chester, we all leave to start our daily assignments and agree to meet back before the sun goes down. My 4 teammates head southwest back into the more dense parts of town to scope out the markets and get in training while Chester waves us goodbye from his porch. I make my way further north, bringing some extra food and water along as well as a detailed map of the region. Chester promises me he'll have all the gear sorted with reasonable price tags that he'll be able to auction them for. Knowing this, I leave with a smile full of energy. Less than 10 minutes of walking through the thin region of the suburb-like residential area goes by before I'm met with the outer edge of Solara. The vast desert in front of me leads off only to the mysterious abyss. Although I can't see it from here, I can definitely sense its presence. I step off the stone road onto the cool sand. Then, activate my wind magic to start propelling my steps forward to make my way northeast at double speed, while gliding a few meters above the ground. The sun is still rising, and the desert is still not too hot from the midday rays. However, the blue sky and yellow sun are slowly making themselves known. It's just sand and rock with the occasional rolling hill and valley to spice up the landscape. After almost an hour of travel passes, the sand below my feet is getting hot, and I'm actively using my new ice magic skill to keep my temperature regulated. The rising and falling dunes of sand don't change much at all, and the far-off mountains hardly get closer the further I travel. One thing that drastically shifts is the amount of open desert between me and the eerie blank spot in my perception. Just as the map lays out, I'm nearly 10 kilometers in and it's getting very near. What I'd thought was just a blank region of the desert a few days back now finally comes into view as I make my way over a hill of sand to look down into a deep valley. From over 800 meters away, it's very visible with the naked eye. A jet-black wave of fog looming far off in the distance is stopped at a halt, just waiting to flood the desert. Eye's edge is flat like a wall standing at least 25 meters high, but squinting off into the distance, it looks like the black matter gets thicker and taller even farther out. I whisper under my breath, "This is definitely refined demonic energy. But why is it acting like this? There's so much energy in such a wide open space that it doesn't make a hint of sense. Whatever being or planetary disaster expelled this energy is capable of feats my mind cannot comprehend." My body lets out a reflexive shudder, but I take a deep breath and continue examining the landscape. I take a few steps forward to walk down the valley, but my eyes drift downward at the even more fascinating sight in front of me. Split in half by the edge of the wall of demonic energy, there are the remnants of an old town. It looks similar to the unnamed village my team stumbled upon when we first entered the Dark Continent. It was most likely home to just a few poor families sticking together as they're not welcome in neighboring cities for one reason or another. The streets are sandy paths and the houses are made from leftover wooden building materials, cloth, and stone. Less than 21-story homes are left sticking out from the black abyss. My heartbeats start to pound in my inner ear as my eyes scan the area carefully while moving forward on high alert. I've never seen anything like this. Far off to my left, the valley curves upward with a single path leading to a rock-filled portion of desert. This peak is only half a kilometer away. The orange rocky cliff hangs over to top of the black pool of darkness and a white dome-shaped building sits on top of it. My eyes light up. That must be the observatory. I activate enemy detection and inspect from a distance to see if there is anyone inside or nearby. To my disappointment, no one's home. There are hints of leftover mana residue inside from recent low-tier skills and item usage, but no actual people. I scan the rest of the abandoned village to find small hints of similar mana reading remaining from weak magic items and most likely healers or merchant skills. It's impossible to tell. There isn't any sign of movement or life. They must have all evacuated before the abyss got too close. I decide to walk closer to the village. As I approach, the wall of black mass seems to get taller from my point of view, and the darkness within is even more ominous. After a few quick sweeps through the streets and snooping through the open homes, I confirm to myself that it's really abandoned. From here, I can see the faint shadows of homes within the demonic energy. This is the other half of the town. The structures are not damaged at all, just engulfed in the energy. I let out a sigh, walking along the edge of the barrier. At closer inspection, it's clear to see that the energy is beginning to dissolve and float into the sky, dispersing in the air just like the remnants of the energy I expelled while training in that cell. The only difference is that more energy comes flooding in from what seems to be an unlimited, undetectable source deep within the continent. None of my perception skills can tell the actual scale of this phenomenon. All I have to examine this mass are my eyes. After walking over 100 meters from the town, I make some distance between myself and the wall of black fog to take out my sword and attempt some tests of my own. I believe everything the old man said. I just want to see it with my own eyes. Charging up a decent amount of mana into my sword, I swing it from a safe distance away and let the pink mana crescent collide with the black wall. It pops and crackles on impact in a violent yellow and white display, but is eaten by the wall of black mass in a fraction of a second. The spark stopped just as fast, like nothing happened. The desert falls silent. I can see some of the energy was displaced as the mana it reacted with mutually canceled each other out. Before I can blink, the damaged region is completely restored. I pace back and forth, trying again and again with all of my elements. No matter what, the same instantaneous reaction occurs, and the mana is swallowed up into nothingness while the barrier heals. Great. This confirms it really is some variant of refined demonic energy. As expected, now, let's see what's inside the abyss. I put away my sword and completely rid my body of mana before activating my demonic energy manipulation skill. The world around me turns to black and white. All perception of mana residue in the nearby settlement disappears from my mind, and the only thing left before me is the abyss. Most of it is hollow and empty, unable to be manipulated at all like toxic waste. However, to my surprise, there are small wisps of raw usable energy floating not too deep inside the black wave. Less than 50 meters inside, there are nearly 10 units of demonic energy swirling around a central point. I raise an eyebrow and step closer while attempting to pull the energy toward me. I can't visually see a thing, but my manipulation skill lets me feel that there is raw energy there without a doubt. There's only one unit left in my core, so absorbing more when it's available in such high density is a great opportunity. As I pull one unit toward me, the entire bundle of 10 drifts my way too. It starts spinning around a center point in an erratic fashion but is still manageable to control and manipulate while reeling it in. I take another step forward, closer to the edge of the abyss, eager to absorb the energy, but now on guard because of the unnatural ease of extraction. The energy I'm pulling in begins to move toward me at a faster and faster rate the closer it gets. As I stare straight ahead into the darkness, two glowing red eyes appear staring right back. Chapter 289. A pair of crimson eyes peer at me from within the abyss. They're filled with the anger and killing intent of a wild beast. I jump backward at the sight of it. My vision is completely black and white, making this bright red gaze stand out even more to me. I can't sense any monsters nearby, but I begin to connect the dots while skidding to a halt on the desert sand a ways back from the black wall. Expecting some horrific and bloodthirsty demonic creature to crawl out from the fog, I grit my teeth and deactivate my manipulation skill. If it's anything like the knights I fought on the 25th floor, one solid wave of mana will take it out no matter how strong it is. To my surprise, the moment I deactivate my skill, the glowing red eyes disappear from my vision. Golden sand below and blue sky above come back into full view, and the black abyss slowly churns lifelessly in front of me. My breathing is heavy, and my eyes shift back and forth. I'm positive what I just saw was really there, but now, it seems to have been an illusion. I use all my mana-powered perception skills, but they do nothing for me. There is no level that pops up, no readings on my enemy detection radar, not a single bar of text from my appraisal skill, and most importantly my all-seeing eye draws a blank. I gulp, taking another step back, then reactivating my demonic energy manipulation skill again. A loud growl fills my ears and the crimson orbs stare at me from the edge of the black abyss yet again with unwavering resolve. The outline of a large wolf begins to form around the floating eyes. It waits patiently for me to approach, but doesn't show any signs that it will willingly walk out from the wall of darkness. Its eyes burn red, and the vague outline of its body from behind the black wall has 10 units of raw energy swirling inside it. My mind begins to race at the thought that the only reason it let me manipulate its energy earlier was because it was curious to see what was greeting it from outside its domain. With this demonic skill activated, I can't use any of my magic. However, without it activated, I can't see or sense this creature at all. I have no gauge of how strong demonic monsters are, and I'm not sure if right now is the time to find out. Well, first things first, I'll need to check if you're working alone. Extending the range of my demonic energy manipulation skill, it can be used as a makeshift radar system. It seems like whatever this wolf creature is, they store raw energy deep within them. If there are any like it in the vicinity, I know exactly what to look for. After about 15 seconds of searching, 3 other similar bundles of roughly 10 units of energy, just like this one, scattered around the edge of the abyss waiting for something to draw their attention. Luckily, they aren't too close by. I let out a relieved sigh, powering down my skill to let mana flow through me again. Taking out my sword, I release a barrage of high-powered attacks at the portion of the wall where the crimson-eyed wolf stood moments ago. It may be invisible to me now, but if anything is caught in a chain reaction like this, it's as good as dead. As the sparks fly and the thin layer of black wall mends itself, I put away my sword and switch back to my black and white vision. The final remnants of the wall are forming back to their original form, but the glowing eyes of the wolf creature don't budge. It's wading too far into the abyss for an attack like that to affect it at all. I assumed so, but wanted to give it a shot. Its burning red eyes still stare at me from a distance, but it refuses to walk out from the safety of its dark protective veil. Curiously, I take a step forward. With only a handful of the monsters in the area, and just one within a range, I'd like to try another test. This one has a more promising potential outcome. Taking another step forward, I point a finger straight ahead. The closer I get to the red eyes, the deeper and louder the guttural growl becomes. With every step on the hot sand I take, the more clearly I see this beast for what it is, less than 5 meters from the slowly churning black wall. I let my final remaining unit of demonic energy flow from my core, through my right arm, and out my finger as a cool, dense blade. Unlike the magic from my previous attack, the thin crescent slices through the less dense, refined black energy and heads straight for the outline of the wolf's neck. At this close range, its eyes shine bright and its thick black fur and muscular body become visible too. The creature stands nearly half my height and is over twice as long. Its claws dig into the sandy ground below, and its curved white teeth reflect the red glow from its eyes. As my thin blade of energy gets close to the beast, its gaze sharpens and it twists its body away with a snarl. The energy hits the side of its body, missing any direct vital points, but leaving a hefty wound behind on its side. It's hard to tell exactly how badly it's been injured, but considering the ear-piercing howl it lets out, I'm guessing it's pretty bad. Great, here comes company. Not wanting to bite off more than I can chew, I do a quick scan of the environment to find the other creatures start running my way almost instantly. They're fast. I grit my teeth. Not knowing enough about the enemy is the most powerful advantage it could have on me. The only two things keeping me from running away are the desire to see what loot this monster drops and the fact that they're potentially very easy to kill. I've come to this conclusion because an energy blade that hardly made a dent in my cell door a few days ago managed to critically injure this beast. It must either be much weaker than I first thought, or my energy attacks have a higher effect on demonic monsters than regular material objects. I'm hoping it's both. My look of concern turns to a confident grin as the essence of raw demonic energy leaving its body shows up in my mind's eye. Small black wisps start to leak out from its wound as the monster attempts to crawl away into the void undetected. Not so fast. With my same outreached right hand, I begin to manipulate the escaping demonic energy and filter it through my core. There's no resistance at all, and the whimpers from the creature get fainter and fainter. It never stood a chance. At the same time, 3 distant howls from the wolves I detected earlier ring out in reply over and over while drawing closer. Almost half a minute goes by and the wolves only get louder. All 10 units of the fallen monster's energy reside inside my core now, and the wolf lies lifeless 15 meters away behind a wall of darkness. It's hard to make out its body, but I'm positive its red eyes go dark. 1 down, 3 to go. I raise my hands and get ready for another fight. The howls stop and 6 crimson eyes appear from behind the fallen monster deep within the darkness. Chapter 290. 3 more demonic wolves slowly make their way toward me through the darkness. This time around I'm much more confident in my abilities and have a core full of energy ready to course through my veins for a barrage of deadly attacks. Once the first pair of red glowing eyes gets close enough, I let my attack fly without hesitating for a moment. The thin blade of darkness cuts through the fog and ends in nearly the exact same fashion as its fallen foe before. The monster realizes it's being shot at and moves out of the way only to be critically injured before it's too late. It whimpers as it's thrown backward and the 2 wolves behind it growl while speeding up toward me, jumping past their injured ally. I smirk, sending off another blade of energy at the next closest one to watch it swerve to my left and narrowly dodge a vital blow. It still schemes its hide, but the wolf continues charging on with its remaining partner not too far behind. Another attack flies out from my fingertips, but the monster lunges to the right to avoid most of my strike. It gets hit again, but its speed doesn't slow. I clench my jaw and focus as the two remaining wolves start to approach the barrier between the demonic energy and the clear air of the outside world. Using both hands, I let out a dual attack to make sure no matter which side it jumps to next the creature will be wounded. As predicted, the monster faces its final moments just a few meters from the slowly shifting black wall of matter. The remaining wolf, on the other hand, seems to have different plans. It jumps over its fallen ally and breaks through the wall of darkness with a growl and pulsing red eyes. I wasn't sure if it was even possible for them to come out from the abyss, but it seems my question has been answered. The wolf creature is no longer just an outline of fur, teeth, and glowing red eyes. The monster looks like an alien being. This is no normal dungeon monster. Its thick fur gushes out refined demonic energy with every step it takes. Not much, but enough to notice that trace amounts of the raw material in its body are being used and dissolved into the air like a life force. It wasn't very clear when it was under a veil of black clouds, but out in the open it's clear that there is a black and dark purple aura constantly coming off of its body. Saliva drips from its row of fangs and the beast follows a random zigzag pattern kicking up sand as it runs closer. It watched me take down its friends and has already learned from their mistakes. I react by releasing 2 more waves of thin energy toward the wolf, but its erratic movements and sand in the air allow it to only be grazed by 1 blade. Again, I release 2 more as it comes closer and closer only to hit its side making a deep gash but not slowing down the demonic wolf by any means. It jumps in the air with claws outreached and fangs ready to sink deep into my flesh. I release my final 2 waves of dark energy and they impale its body from close range. 1 through the heart and the other straight through the underside of its neck to pierce its skull. I fall backward onto the hot sandy incline behind me and the demonic creature lands with a loud thud as well. I let out a sigh, then chuckle to myself while standing to my feet. If I was in my normal form not wielding demonic energy, these beasts would be a breeze. With their speed and reflexes taken into account, the wolves I just faced are hardly that of a level 100 mob. I'm just not used to combat without using my mana-imbued items and skills. They caught me off guard, but I easily handled it before it was too late. Well, that's one problem taken care of, but my questions are not answered. In fact, now I have more. I put my hands on my waist and stare down at the lifeless wolf creature pretending to wait for a response, then use my manipulation skill to refine the raw energy seeping from its fallen corpse. Not wasting any time, I absorb the energy from its 2 partners as well. Each of them has between 7 and 10 units floating inside them. The more strength and power they exert, it seems as though they would use up more of the energy leaving less raw matter behind. As tested previously by the first wolf, the moment their raw energy stores run out, they die. It's their life force energy, but also their means to use strength and power. Even now, an odd phenomenon is taking place. The corpse of the fallen monster is beginning to dissolve into the air at a rapid rate. Just like the refined energy from the abyss, it is being consumed and evaporated by the atmosphere. Racking my brain for a better explanation than my loosely thrown-together theory, I deactivate my demonic energy manipulation skill to let the color of the world flood back in around me. It would have been a refreshing shift, if not for the fact that the corpse of the black wolf disappears completely from my vision. All that remains in its place is a tiny black gem. Its glossy surface reflects the sun's rays. I gulp, walking over to it and switching my vision back and forth to see the monster reappear and disappear every time I change my skill. For every passing second, the remains of the creature get smaller and smaller in my demonic vision, while for some reason I'm unable to see the beast at all while using my mana senses. It takes less than half a minute before the only thing remaining in both of my visions is the black stone on the floor. Picking it up from the golden sand and holding it in my palm, I can confirm it's exactly like the stone from the knights in the labyrinth. The only difference is their size. This gem is not even 1/5 as large as the knights from the 25th floor. Still, it's a clue. Putting the stone into my item storage, I think about whether or not I should enter the abyss to try and scavenge the remaining stones. For now, it's not a smart idea to step into unknown territory without more information. It's best I battle more of their kind at this lower level before doing anything rash. I begin walking along the edge of the abyss while scanning for more enemies. A few hours pass and I repeat more of the same, using demonic energy as well as mana crescents every 500 meters or so to attract trouble. A few low growls and glowing red eyes pop up in my vision and a similar scenario plays out. If I release 2 slashes at once, I can take down the lone wolves without giving them the option to call for help. Aside from the wolves, the further from the city I get, the more I extend my manipulation sensors into the darkness. Deep within, it's harder to sense at this distance, but I feel the presence of a few creatures wielding well over 30 demonic energy in their bodies. This is another reason for killing my prey swiftly is to not alert these friends. I'm curious to know what these powerful monsters are, but I'm unsure if my crude attacks will be as effective on them compared to these wolves. No more unnecessary risks. Today I stick to what I'm good at. I managed to defeat 6 more wolves of similar strength and stature in total, but only 1 more allows me to kill it outside of the abyss. While absorbing the last opponent's energy, my core nears 50 demonic energy units stored inside. To my surprise, I begin to feel an odd pressure in my chest. I begin to have trouble holding all of the refined energy inside. Trace amounts of black energy leak from my core, through my energy pathways, and out all my pores very slowly in a dark mist-like form. It's a cool sensation, almost invigorating. It doesn't hurt, but I don't like the fact that I'm not doing it on purpose. If I were forced to switch back to using mana right now, it wouldn't be pretty. Whatever is happening, it can't continue until I understand this better. I release enough energy from my core in thin streams from my fingertips to allow it to rest at a stable level. Around 45 units seems to be my max without it spilling out in an erratic fashion or that odd pressure in my chest getting worse. With a sigh of relief as the oozing black energy stops coming out, I whisper under my breath again. That's enough for today. At this point, I'm far from the city and observatory I was meant to keep an eye on, and over half the day has already gone by. These have been some interesting tests and a great step forward in my research. I step away from the edge of darkness and begin walking back to the abandoned village. Chapter 291. The sun has already hit its high point in the sky and is beginning to fall down toward the horizon. While the sand is still scorching hot, the dry air is starting to cool off as the light rays aren't directly pointing at the top of my head anymore. While walking back through the rolling dunes of the desert to the abandoned village, the sensation I felt earlier keeps relying in the back of my mind. The pressure in my chest and the core overflowing with energy are all I can think about. The more I ponder it, the more similarities it has to the way the wolves were leaking black fog containing trace amounts of refined energy. Demonic wolves seem to have raw energy swirling around inside them, ready to be used as a power source at any moment. My method of use is fairly different. I'm able to keep energy in my core in a state of limbo. It's resting between raw and refined. However, once released, it can't be absorbed back inside. I've lived most of my life without a drop of demonic energy in me, so I'm sure it's not vital to my survival like the wolves. I am curious if I'd be able to use it in a similar fashion to increase my physical attributes if I mastered my output better. While silently daydreaming about the possibilities of my new discovery, the abandoned village finally comes back into my field of vision. Along with it, the white dome-shaped building up on the hill does too. I do a quick scan of my surroundings and confirm yet again there isn't a single human or monster in sight. Other than the beasts lurking deep within the black void to my right side, there is no life for kilometers in this abandoned wasteland. The sun is getting closer to the desert horizon, so I turn to walk back to Solara. We all agreed to meet back at Chester's before sunset, so it's best I break my habit of always being fashionably late. Sometimes I have a good reason for it. Today it would just be unnecessary. I make my trek back through the rolling hills of golden sand. It doesn't take long before the wooden porch of the old man's house comes into view. I make it just in time to see Abby and Maria walking up the steps as the setting orange sun starts to disappear from the sky. A blue light bursts out from the door as I approach. Fisher's voice yells in a happy tone to those listening inside. Pretty awesome, right? I can control its level of protection on demand now. It's like an extra layer of mana shielding made from water magic without using up nearly as much energy. I step through the door to see where exactly this blue light is coming from. The swordsman is standing in the middle of the living room, emanating a light blue glow. A thin veil of shielding covers his whole body, and it's visible to the naked eye. Using my all-seeing eye for a closer look, I confirm his words with a smirk and a nod as we make eye contact before speaking up. Not bad. That's your ranked-up perk? The water defense you mentioned earlier. My eyes scan it up and down before continuing. I had no idea it could be manipulated to different intensities. Interesting. He smiles and turns to Ari. We found out all kinds of things about our ranked-up buffs. There isn't much known about them from my standard education. All I know is this is a high-tier perk. Sometimes people don't even get a buff at all. Often a hunter's skills just get upgraded. I think the fact that we're already maxed out at legendary grade means we got something extra. Show him yours. Ari nods and stands to his feet. Sure, I got some practice in too. Take a look. The archer begins to shine bright white. Meanwhile, I think about what the water mage said. I know for certain legendary is not the maximum skill rank. Upgrading further would just require a lot more proficiency points, PP. If a hunter's skills can't be upgraded manually, a buff is rewarded. Then again, I received a buff with plenty of points left to use. Maybe it has to do with a hunter's nature. A ranked-up perk could be different depending on the wielder's goals and desires. I give up on my train of thought as Ari begins to materialize white magical objects in his hands. They glisten and shine like his white arrows, but shape-shift from the form of daggers, to a large shield, then into a long sword, and finally a fantastic glowing bow. He holds it tight, then lets the object disappear into thin air. Not even mana residue is left behind. It gives off the same reading as when an item is placed into an item box. The energy is gone from this dimensional plane. He speaks. Whatever weapon or physical item I picture in my head can be created with the same essence as my spirit arrows. It uses very little mana and they're much stronger than normal magic items. Fisher crosses his arms. Very strong indeed. One of his conjured blades easily went toe-to-toe with my bonded water sword. Not to mention our base level increase in overall mana control is astounding. It's like I'm breathing in magic with every breath I take. We're on a whole new level. I nod with a thin smile, happy to see Fisher coming back to his old self. Good. Great to see some fast progress. If the boss is ranked up and as strong as Chester says he is, we'll need all the help can get. Tomorrow, both of you should train more and see if you can push those abilities to any new heights. A single day of practicing a skill often doesn't show you everything it has in store. I turn to Abby and Maria. How about you two? Anything unusual to report? They both shake their heads and then Maria speaks. We went to the mercenary guilds, snooped around the bars, popped into the government office in disguise, and even checked out the dungeon hub. There was no sign of anyone talking about us, the inner circle, or the association. It's like we were never even here. Business is moving like usual. Abby crosses her arms. True. But it's not exactly like we were never here. She chuckles. The mess you made down in the black market raised a few eyebrows. However, no one dared to walk into the dead zone region of the second floor to check it out for themselves while we were down there. At the front gate, the guards just let us in and out without any mention of it. There were some whispers from nearby merchants, questioning why there had been no one entering or exiting the dead zone today. Most of them are convinced the boss and his minions are out of town. But I'm not sure how long their blind fear will last. People will get curious. I nod. Good. We just need to hold off any wandering eyes for one more day. Tomorrow, both of you stay down there to make sure no one messes things up. We don't want the wrong person to see something they're not meant to see. Finally, my gaze shifts to Chester. He has an excited look on his face and stands next to the tall display case of items I tasked him to sort. Each of the items has small notes on them with descriptions and price points for market value and expected auction price, plus their specific perks and buffs. He speaks. If we were to sell all of these slowly over the next few months, I'm sure a small fortune could be made. I nod, letting him continue. But you said you wanted them all sold by tomorrow. If I go to some of my old connects in town and sell to some trusted anonymous buyers, they'll purchase bulk items for a seller's price. About 100 gold for everything is my modest appraisal. I shrug with a grin. Great, get them sold tomorrow. Anything over 0 is profit, but try to get the best price you can. Chester turns around to pull out the blue and gold potions along with a smooth curved glossy black dagger as dark as night. These items, on the other hand, I think are far too unique to sell. There are no merchants or hunters in town capable of giving me a reasonable price for them. It may be worth keeping them for the future battles. I look down at the gear and activate appraisal. Extreme Strength Potion X10. MP Invigoration Potion X10. The potions show interesting readings in the familiar blue text boxes, but the dagger shows nothing at all. It's clearly a monster drop, but there isn't a hint of magic in it. I use my all-seeing eye to get more information. Extreme Strength Potion. Info. This Extreme Strength Potion will boost the user's base strength stats by 120% for 5 minutes. If initially consumed while on full HP, it increases the speed and agility stats by an additional 25%. The user will have a 50% debuff of all base stats for 30 minutes following potion use. Class: C+. Type: Consumable. Durability: 1/1. MP Invigoration Potion. Info. This MP Invigoration Potion will boost the user's base mana control capabilities by 50% for 5 minutes. If initially consumed while on full MP, it increases the user's environmental mana absorption rate by 200% for the full 5 minutes of activation. The user will have a 75% debuff on all base stats and a 99% debuff on mana absorption for 30 minutes following potion use. Class: B+. Type: Consumable. Durability: 1/1. I've never seen anything like this. The potions look interesting, but what stands out most to me is the endless black void within the glossy curved dagger. It gives off the same lifeless, undetectable readings I get from staring into the abyss. Chapter 292. I take the black dagger from Chester's hands, disregarding the glowing crate of potions in his other, and begin twirling it around my fingers to view the weapon from every possible angle. The smooth and incredibly lightweight. The old man starts to explain how the potions work based on a book he read about similar items years ago, but I drown out his words while staring down at this unique artifact. The base of the grip fits tightly in my right hand, and the curved blade is about the length of my forearm. My eyes practically sparkle while looking down at the incredible item. It feels as if there's a bottomless abyss within the blade yearning for power. I'm sure this item cannot wield mana, so I don't dare risk it and try. All I want to do right now is activate my demonic energy manipulation skill and test out my theories. Its surface is made of the same hard stone-like substance that the crystals dropped from the Black Knights and demonic wolves. The origin and specific details about this substance are still unclear to me, but with every passing day, it's starting to come together. I need to get some alone time to test this blade's capabilities. I'm mesmerized. After a few dozen more spins and swirling motions through my fingers, I grab the blade tight with a smirk. My vision finally lifts from the knife and I snap back to reality, listening to the conversation going on in the living room. Chester continues to speak about the potions with a kind smile. So if you're ever in need of a boost during a battle against an overwhelming opponent, these may save your life. Just remember the debuffs are pretty intense. You'll have to rely on your teammates after the 5 minutes is up, or ensure the battle can be finished within that time frame. I nod slowly, still only thinking about the weapon in my hand. My teammates, on the other hand, are staring wide eyes at the potions. Then they all turn to me. I shrug, eyeing the potions for a moment, then take 2 of the golden extreme strength potions for myself, leaving the rest. Have at 'em. I think you'll make better use of them than me. Anything with debuffs this high is not optimal for my long-term battle style. The mana absorption rate is pointless for me as well. With Plunderer, I can take in all the MP I need without the negative side effects of a potion. The extreme strength, on the other hand, I'll keep on me for a rainy day. It wouldn't hurt to hold on to a few, but my gear and skill buffs are better than anything these potions can add. The four of them gladly accept and start splitting the potions amongst themselves. They put them in their item boxes and examine the glass jars in amazement. Abby is the first to look up from their newly gifted loot. Now that we've all given our reports, that just leaves you. What's the status of the observatory? You found it right. The room goes silent. I did. There are a few gulps, but everyone waits patiently as I go on. Nobody was home. I take it they're either concealed in an area I can't sense or held up waiting somewhere else. The entire town was abandoned, and the observatory up on the cliff didn't have a single living soul inside. I reach into my storage and pull out the 2 black demonic stones. However, there are some interesting monsters in the abyss. Chester's eyes light up from across the room as I let the small glossy gems with the middle coffee table surface. His gaze darts back and forth from the dagger in my right hand and the gems rolling to a stop on the wooden surface. The old man's eye for rare items comes to the same conclusion as me in a matter of seconds. As he walks over, I speak again. They were right by the edge. One of my abilities allows me to see them. It makes sense that you weren't able to while conducting research. It's an advanced technique. However, the fact that you said you heard some is fascinating. Am I remembering this correctly? Chester picks up the gems and starts examining them with a small bronze-colored circular tool while replying. Indeed. All I heard were growls from the border when I got too close. Also, an occasional roar followed by the sound of metal on metal ringing out from deep within caught my ear every few days. He gulps. I've stepped inside a few times to conduct some tests, but never made it further than 10 meters. The darkness is sickening. There's another moment of silence before Ari speaks. The monsters in the abyss. How would I stack up against one? A semi-worried expression crosses his face. I reply, "Oh, you're definitely stronger than the monsters I faced today. The only problem is you wouldn't be able to perceive them. They seem to exist on a different frequency than regular mana-based monsters." The room is taken aback at this remark. Everyone's eyes open wide, wanting to know more. I throw my hands up in a playful manner. Hey, I don't really understand it much yet either. I need to do more testing tomorrow. I hold up the black dagger tighter. This weapon may help me uncover some more clues. A few sighs and slow nods are all I get in return as they realize we've hit a dead end for information gathering today. We all start to settle down for the evening, as the distant city lights are the only source of brightness that shines through the open windows. Chester cooks up another meal, and we spend the night rehashing our plans for tomorrow and start discussing potential options for what we'll do once we get out of this whole mess. The only things that come up are starting a new life here in the Dark Continent, moving to another one of the 8 regions, or directly confronting the association back home. There are other options too, but these seem to be our top 3 options. All of them have their advantages and drawbacks, but we still have a lot to get done before making a decision. The conversation was only brought up to keep our minds busy while waiting for the impending confrontation ahead. Morning comes and we all leave to continue our respective roles. Maria and Abby head out to keep watch on the black market, Ari and Fisher go to the training rooms to refine their new ranked-up powers, and Chester leaves to sell off the high-grade D and C-class gear to his various merchant friends. I excitedly make my way back toward the desert. Although I like to keep my abilities as hidden as possible, that is not the full reason I didn't activate my demonic energy while with my group last night. We're all in the same boat here, enemies of 2 foreign governments, and only have each other to count on. There's no reason to not trust them, but at the same time, there's no reason to overshare. My main worry is the potential dangers of the excess mana from their auras or magic residue in a room full of elite mages and rare items. One wrong chain reaction and we'd all be doomed. It's better I keep this to myself for now. I whisper under my breath while walking out of town and into the rolling hills of the open desert. Today, I'll learn how to use this blade and enter the abyss. Chapter 293. As the silver towers in Solara begin to fade from my line of sight, I take my new dagger out of item storage and begin twirling it through my fingers again. It looks like it should be made of heavy metal or dense stone like obsidian, but this long blade can't be more than 100 grams. It's made of a foreign substance I've never felt before in high quantity. With too many questions begging to be answered, I activate my demonic energy manipulation skill, and the world around me flashes black and white. The rising golden hills of sand in the desert turn white in my vision, and the only darkness in the landscape is the shadows from the sun. I'm starting to get used to the switch. However, the blade in my hand now glows with a dim purple hue. This is new. It's barely visible, but from the contrast of the bright sand below me and the lack of color in my vision otherwise, I'm sure it's there. It's the exact same color as the wisps of matter that dissolve off dungeon walker portals I used to make when it was a base level skill. I take a deep breath, then allow a full unit of demonic energy to flow from my core into the blade through my fingertips. Feels natural to do so. Once in contact with my energy, the dagger starts to glow light purple closer to the sharp edge of the blade. Its intensity and luminosity increase, but the shade of purple hue darkens as more energy seeps into it. The denser the energy is packed, the closer to the base color of a jet black blade the weapon returns to. I take a few more steps forward while examining the dagger further. The outer glow now has taken a somewhat physical rippling form. Light wisps of dark purple energy float around the weapon. Trace amounts of the excess refined demonic energy dissolve into the air. Out of curiosity, I feed it more. Another unit flows from my core into the blade and the purple hue darkness again. Thicker wisps with the consistency of candle smoke form around the black weapon, and it only tempts me to give it more power to test its limits. One unit at a time, I continue sending refined cool energy from my body to the blade. It hits 5 units, and the dark aura around it nearly covers my hand, it's so thick. While the matter still rests in the blade, it feels like the energy is still connected to me. It feels powerful, but at the same moment, I have nothing to compare it to. It isn't similar to when I imbue my bonded blades with mana at all. Instead of energy being ready to expel at a moment's notice like my fire or pure mana attacks, this one is just powering up the weapon itself. I can feel the black dagger being saturated, but that's about it. There is no extra control or immediate buffs gained. I've just created a stronger blade. Wisps of black energy continue to surround the weapon. The more that's in the blade, the faster its residue dissolves into the atmosphere. I give it a test swing through the air. The motion is quick and silent, leaving a thin trail of dark purple energy behind it. Sporting a grin, I swing it again. It leaves another streak of black and purple cloud-like residue across my vision, as if I'm peering into the night sky through the desert sand. The trails of energy disappear into the air, and I whisper under my breath. The Midnight Dagger. That's what I'll call this blade. I continue to get a feel for my new weapon while admiring the sleek, stealthy, and dangerous aesthetic. With every slash I conduct, the power within the blade is expelled little by little. After about 24 movements, all 5 units have completely dissolved into the air. It's devoid of energy, just like the moment I picked it up for the first time. The weapon uses up demonic energy while in its base resting state, and a significant amount more when moved around at high speeds by the user. I'm much more comfortable wielding my new weapon, but I still have to try it out on a monster to see how it really works. With a satisfied sigh, I reactivate my mana sense and place the dagger in my item storage to continue the long walk back to the abyss. It does not take long before the black void comes into view and the vacant town lays silent below me in the valley. With an all-seeing eye scan along with enemy detection, I confirm there's nothing out of the ordinary in the town itself. However, the white dome up on the hill shows an interesting reading that was not present yesterday. There's a weak pulse of gray energy coming from the top of the observatory every 10 to 20 seconds. Without my perception, it'd be invisible, but I can see clearly that the mana-based energy wave is pointed straight at the abyss. Surprisingly, as it makes contact with the black void, it glides right through and fades away out of my detection range but creates no yellow sparks or hint of reaction with the darkness. Despite the odd new sonar-like energy reading, there aren't any people nearby. It's tempting to peek inside and find out for myself what's really going on. But if by chance there's surveillance in the area, I don't want to ruin my chances of meeting the boss and his craftsmen tomorrow. I grit my teeth and turn away. The information is noted. I'll reassess the situation in time. If there's no one home, I'm better off not knocking at the door. Taking a hard left, I begin my walk along the abyss just like I had the day before. Activating demonic vision and pulling out the midnight dagger, I patiently wait for a wolf to appear from the black fog. After no more than 500 meters of travel away from the abandoned town, the first pair of red glowing eyes stare at me from within the dark border. It growls and tightens its jaw while digging its sharp claws into the sand, but doesn't budge from about 7 meters deep in the abyss. I take a step closer, channeling 5 full units of demonic energy into my sword just like when I tested it out earlier. With every step closer that I take, the wolf's growl sounds louder and deeper. Its crimson eyes shine brighter through the darkness and the creature stands its ground. Other than the 2 occasions where the wolves jumped out of the void to attack me, this is the closest I've gotten to one of these monsters. More importantly, this is the closest I've ever been to the abyss itself. With blade in hand, and confidence coursing through my veins, I continue to draw near. The hot sand beneath my feet crunches with every step, and my eardrums echo with the monster's deep growls. I take a final step close enough to the swirling wall of darkness to the point where reaching out a hand would allow me to touch the barrier. The wolf finally snaps and lets out a battle roar while jumping forward. I do the same, plunging dagger first into the abyss. Chapter 294. The tip of my blade pierces the black veil of darkness. The crimson eyes and dripping white fangs of the demonic wolf lunge toward me while my blade points right back. Cuts clean through like butter. Not only the blackness of the abyss but the wolf creature in front of me as well. With little to no resistance at all, my dagger strikes the incoming wolf head-on, and it's cleaved in 2 before I even make another step. Plumes of dark energy seep from my blade as it tears through the monster's flesh, killing it instantly. As impressive as my destructive feat may be, my attention is much more focused on the darkness around me that I delved into unannounced. With a thud, the 2 halves of the wolf land at my sides and my gaze locks onto the reflection of my glowing white eyes in the base of the glossy blade. I look around, and my vision isn't filled with pure darkness as expected. It looks as if I'm just wearing dark purple sunglasses inside. Dark, but still more than visible enough to move around undisturbed. My vision is equal to that of a day that has turned to dusk. The rolling sandy hills are visible for hundreds of meters ahead of me. Unlike moments ago when staring into the black void, I could hardly make out the wolf's outline at 10 meters. This isn't right. I remember Chester's words well. He mentioned he could enter the abyss unharmed, but couldn't make it more than a few meters without the darkness becoming unbearable. I'm having a much different experience. Activating my manipulation skill, I absorb the energy from the fallen wolf. It brings my core back up to full and my vision lightens even further. My visibility reaches nearly half a kilometer. Although the outside of the abyss looks like a thick black cloud of fog, the air quality actually has no difference. It may be a bit thicker, but the amount is minuscule. My movements and breathing aren't affected at all. If anything, I feel even more energetic and ready for a fight than before. As the 2 remaining halves of the wolf monster dissolve, the tiny black gemstone is left behind on the sandy floor. As I pick it up, the purple glimmer and glossy reflective surfaces shine in the light of my eyes again. I throw it in my back pocket, not wanting to find out what would happen if I were to activate my spatial magic in here. Wisps of energy still leak from my blade. After replenishing my stores from the world, there are just under 45 units in my core and a little over 4 in my dagger. Turning my head to the edge of the abyss behind me, the bright open desert is visible just slightly through a distorted white veil. It's the polar opposite of what the abyss looks like from the outside. Impossible to miss from a distance, but with no way of tracking where I am in here other than my positioning compared to monsters, my plan is to keep close to the outer edge. Or at least within a visual range. It looks like I have some work to do. With a grin, I move forward deeper into the purple-tinted realm without another thought. tightly gripping my blade and scanning the area for dense pockets of raw demonic energy. I start my trek. I continue making my way east and slightly north, walking deeper into this unknown. It feels eerily silent, but then again so is the entire desert. About 20 minutes pass before a grouping of 4 wolves come charging my way with glowing eyes and no fear or hesitation in their movements. I sense them coming from a distance, but their travel trajectory hints toward the fact that they could sense me too. Plus, there are many of them traveling together now. Not just the scouts at the border. I run forward to meet the small pack head-on while channeling more energy into my blade to make up for the lost charge. 2 wolves jump out in front, and with a wide slash from right to left, I cut them down. The creatures' heads roll to the floor behind me while I prepare to attack their backup. Just like mindless dungeon monsters, these beasts show no fear. They only run straight ahead, attacking me with the intent to kill, nothing else. The black and purple wisps around my knife start to grow as I continuously channel more energy into the blade to prepare for a second strike. In doing so, the second my legs hit the ground, I feel a surge of power. My next step is considerably faster than the previous attack, and I lunge forward with blinding speed and precision. All of my perception senses increase for a moment as well. The wolves don't have any time to howl for backup. They're defeated before they even know what hit them. I smirk and turn around as all 4 fallen enemies stop moving and begin to dissolve. Similar to my blade, black and purple wisps of energy evaporate from my arms and shoulders, adding to the refined energy of the abyss. Once it leaves my body, it is lost from my control. It stops flowing the moment my heart rate slows and my quick movements cease while absorbing all the raw energy from the wolves. There is some leftover that I can't absorb. It just floats slowly into the air as the remains of the monsters' bodies dissolve. I collect the 4 black gems and continue my walk, making a mental note of the energy surge I just felt. It was like a temporary speed, strength, and perception buff, but with such weak opponents, it's hard to tell by how much. It activates when my blade gets fully saturated with demonic energy, and the output I'm channeling through my pathways has nowhere else to go. The power slowly seeps through my muscles and invigorates my body. Afterward, I don't feel tired or fatigued at all. I need to conduct a few more tests. Over the next few hours, I run into more small wolf packs of 2 to 6 monsters per grouping every kilometer I travel. My newest power-up is useful to take the wolves out quickly, but I'm only able to activate it when my blade is full. Even while battling 6 demonic beasts at once, I hardly have more than a second to produce any results. The phenomenon's true capabilities are still an unsolved mystery to me. I curiously continue to probe the void for something stronger. Eventually, as I travel further east than I did yesterday, and nearly half a kilometer north into the abyss, the remnants of an abandoned town come into my field of view. It's much deeper in than I'd initially planned on diving, but something interesting catches my eye. I'd brush it off as just another evacuated settlement if it wasn't for the odd light purple, almost white, aura hovering over the vacant houses. There aren't more than 20 houses in total, and most are made of wood and leftover scrap metal. Squinting from this range, the outer glow of the oddity is visible, but the only way to see what it really is to walk over and check it out for myself. The closer I get, the brighter the aura becomes. Once less than 20 paces away, the aura turns out to not be what I expected at all. White and purple fire burns bright, flickering slowly and scattered in small patches along the sandy streets and even crackling atop a few small huts and houses. It looks like it was thrown about by an angry fire wielder randomly. The fact that the flames are here isn't the odd part. It's that they don't show any signs of growing larger or flickering out. They just burn in place, giving off the light glow that drew me in. Every step closer I take, the more it doesn't make any sense at all. The moment I make my first step into the vicinity of the village onto a well-traveled path, I feel the sand shudder and vibrate beneath my feet. It stops for a moment as my eyes dart back and forth. Then a loud, fearsome roar followed by a metal clang rings out from even deeper within the abyss. Tightening my gaze on the direction it came from and letting my energy sensors search for power, I pick up on the essence of a monster with nearly the same amount of raw energy in its core as me. This isn't a wolf. It's my chance to face a demonic monster with real power. Chapter 295. I take another step into the town. After the first ground-shaking roar, the air stays still, and silence fills the dark abyss. The only movements I can sense are the white and purple flickering flames ahead of me. Cautiously, I take more steps forward while gripping my dagger. The roofs of the small huts I walk past are torn off, and some are missing doors and walls. It's difficult to tell if this destruction was man-made before evacuating, or if the monster that released its battle cry earlier had something to do with all this. Using my manipulation skill, I sense the dense grouping of raw energy coming my way at a steady rate. If I'm picturing it correctly, there are nearly 40 units swirling around inside this beast. In response, I channel energy into my blade and start moving in its direction. I make it all the way through the desolate village, peering out into the purple-tinted horizon awaiting its arrival. At first, I thought it might be some kind of mutant wolf or a humanoid version of one. However, considering its roar, it sounds too familiar to a type of monster I've fought in the past to resemble a wolf howl. My suspicions come true as the 4-meter-tall shadowy figure of a high orc comes stomping toward me from over a risen sand dune. Its skin is dark purple, and its armor is jet black. The creature's crimson eyes are the first thing that becomes visible while it charges my way. The monster raises a long glossy sword similar to my dagger's coloring and lets out a roar. It locks its gaze on me while its body begins to exude high amounts of demonic energy. In doing so, it accelerates much faster. Sand flies up in the air to its sides as I finish channeling excess energy into my dagger. This activates my buffs to let the dark matter leak out from my body as well. The creature is fast, but I'm faster. It's time to fight. Grinning, I lunge forward and match the demonic high orc speed without an issue. My gaze tightens on its armor the closer I get, darting my eyes up and down to try and pinpoint a weak area to strike. It's almost entirely covered from the neck down. Other than its head, the areas I can strike are the backs of its knees, elbows, and a small area around its waist. That's where a majority of its demonic energy is leaking out from, so it's signifying holes in the defenses. With eyes locked on the prize, I continue running forward as the armored high orc runs down the sand dune with its black blade raised. I jump upward, powered up with my new speed and strength buffs, as the demonic creature swings its blade down at me. A clang rings out on impact. The heavy breath of the beast can be felt from less than a few meters away, and its red eyes illuminate the area where we clash, announcing the battle's start. It's strong, much stronger than I initially imagined. Once we collide, even with my buffs, I'm slightly overpowered strength-wise. My mana control is worthless, and my stat-boosting gear can't be used. I'm reliant on the base stats of this body double's nerfed form plus whatever extra power the mysterious Midnight Dagger can lend me in the heat of battle. Although it slightly overpowers me, I still clearly have the upper hand. The monster's long sword begins to crack against the flowing essence of my dagger. My blade sinks into the metal of its weapon as it attempts to push it down further toward me. Surprisingly, neither its sword nor armor glows, channeling energy like mine. It seems this blade is special. It realizes its sword will break if it follows through with this swing any further. So it comes at me from the side with a tightened fist covered in demonic essence. Hit straight on from the side, I'm sent flying down the desert hill while coughing up blood. I'll give it to ya, you can hit hard. Unfortunately, that's not going to be enough. I smirk, catching my feet on the desert floor and repositioning myself for our second incoming clash. It has the strength advantage over me, but I have speed. As long as I don't let it catch me in the air again, this battle is as good as won. I turn to let it follow me to a more flat area of the desert right outside the village. Battling on a hill is giving it the unnecessary advantage of high ground. It takes less than 5 seconds to get the beast exactly where I want it. The high orc lets out a roar while following and swinging its arms and blade, frustrated that I keep it meters out of reach at all times. Then, once the battlefield is to my liking, I turn to face it, activating my buffs. In the blink of an eye, I swerve around the creature's left side, narrowly avoiding its blade and aiming for the back of its knee. There's a small gap in its armored leggings, so I aim for it. The sound of metal on metal rings out as my energy-covered blade chips a hole in its armor, exposing even more of its hind leg. The monster swings its blade around to hit me, but I lunge away, slashing at its exposed free elbow. With every step I take, I burn through more demonic energy. Each powerful stride of mine uses up about half a unit, and just dodging burns through another half a unit every 3 seconds that I partake in battle. I could take a few hits from its charged fist if I needed to, but that first one hurt quite a bit. If I were to quantify it, the attack felt like the strength of a level 350 to 400 monster with a strength-based natural affinity. Considering this, and the fact that the wolves I faced earlier with 10 units of demonic energy felt like level 100 monsters, I can safely assume that a single unit of demonic energy is roughly equivalent to 10 levels, stats-wise. In my weakened form, I only have a few dozen levels up on this creature. It's best for me to stay cautious moving forward. There may be many other opponents like this one that I can't always brute force my way to victory. I'll use a more tactical battle style here, slashing at its weak points until massive holes in its armor become visible. The high orc roars with frustration. These roars turn into cries of agony as I begin aiming for its flesh, not only aiming to weaken its defenses. Focusing on speed and using up a lot of my energy stores, I'm able to bob and weave around the brute with surgical precision. Hit after hit, the beast's vitality is brought down to a critical level. In doing so, the monster gets much slower as well. Every attempt it makes to block uses up more of its own demonic energy, and every swing of its blade becomes sloppier by the minute. The clang and crack of metal echo through the vacant town as its final desperate attempt to cut me down ends in its blade being sliced in two by my dagger. The dark-skinned high orc falls to its knees, unarmed and riddled with slash marks on its arms and legs. I jump above it and deal the finishing blow to the center of its forehead. The corpse, shattered armor, and broken blade fall to the sandy floor with a series of thuds. I step away while breathing heavily. I check the contents of my core. Less than 10 units of demonic energy remain. I'm a bit fatigued, but the physical stress on my body is mostly forgotten as I'm invigorated by the fact that I took down my first difficult opponent in the abyss. That was the first time I've managed to go all out with this new power, and it felt good. The remnants of the high orc start to dissolve, and I absorb the remaining raw energy it releases, bringing me almost back up to a full core, but not quite. The monster used up a lot of its own energy stores in our battle. I bend down to grab the glossy black gem it leaves behind, but the ground starts to shake violently as I do. Just like before I met this high orc, the sand beneath my feet shifts. This time there's no roar. I feel exactly where it comes from. My eyes open wide and my heart skips a beat as I sense a monster wielding over 90 units of raw demonic energy lurking nearby in the abyss. It's been waiting patiently for me to finish my battle before making its presence known. Chapter 296. The sand beneath my feet shifts again, even more violently this time. I'm frozen in place, feeling the presence of a demonic creature magnitude stronger than the one I just faced. I had to use all my tricks and mental power to stay ahead of a creature with a level lower than my own. Lurking less than 500 meters away from me, I sense a monster stronger than anything I've ever faced in battle before, inside or outside of this abyss. This would be a good time to run. Without thinking twice, I grabbed the glossy black stone off the floor from the high orc I just defeated and turned to leave immediately. There's a difference between seeking out a strong opponent for training my new powers and the death wish I'd be asking for to face whatever this monster may be. Sand flies up from my heels as I sprint back toward the direction of the abandoned town. I'm not sure how, but I feel the glare of something watching me from afar. I can't see it, but I know it's watching. Using demonic energy to increase the strength of my footsteps, I race off at full speed toward the direction of the outside world. The ground starts to shake more and more violently, and the sand beneath my feet starts to churn and move. It gets harder to find solid ground with every step I take. I finally make it right to the edge of the eerie town of abandoned homes and crackling flames. This lets me know for sure the border of the abyss is less than a kilometer away, but with the heavy looming presence behind me, it feels like much further. My manipulation skill starts to go haywire. Over a dozen enemies ranging from 10 to 50 raw units of demonic energy start to surround me on all sides. They appeared from nowhere, and the presence behind me is not weakened in the slightest. To make things even more strange, they're all coming up from underneath the sand. It's as if they spawned in. I stop in place and grip my dagger as the ground beneath my feet becomes so unstable it's impossible to stand. If I had my wind magic right now, I'd fly out of here in an instant, but right now I'm a sitting duck. An explosion of white and purple light bursts from the ground no more than 10 meters to my right. It nearly blinds me before another of the same size erupts on my left. Then another in front and more behind. Monsters are popping up from the sand one by one and igniting their bodies with a bright purple glow. It's hot, very hot. But luckily the heat doesn't bother me much. Everything clicks in my head as the sand clouds start to settle, revealing over a dozen monstrous demonic worms covered in flames closing in toward me. This is a completely new species of demonic monster. The disgusting creatures range from 2 to 5 meters long and all share the same features. Rows of white teeth that rotate in their open maws. The skin around their bodies looks slippery and wet, yet despite that, it's covered in purple flames. One of the smallest creatures of the bunch closest to me lunges in, targeting my right leg. Gritting my teeth, not having any room to step back, I swing my charged dagger, slicing it in two. Both halves of the slimy, flaming creature wriggle on the ground as another one of its kind squirms in to attempt to take a bite out of my left side. Again, I spin around and slice the flaming creature in two. Only the lower-level ones are attacking right now. They're scoping out my capabilities with their young and trying to identify my strengths and weaknesses. They may look stupid, but as a group, it seems they have a brain. Not good. As more of the 10 to 20 unit creatures throw their bodies at me, I feel the monstrous entity approach at an unnerving pace. It's getting closer by the second, and I'm stuck slicing worms on the edge of town, not making any progress toward my plan to flee. As soon as I attempt to escape from the circle that surrounds me, one of the larger creatures lunges in. This wide-open mouth has 4 rows of razor-sharp teeth. Its diameter is close to the width of my body. I activate my demonic speed buffs and use up a full unit to jump out of the way as fast and far as it will take me. In doing so, this allows others its size to squirm my way and go on the attack rather than just sitting back to watch. All of the slimy monsters leave trails of purple flames behind them, and long indents in the sand look like the well-traveled roads in the village. The mysterious sight of the flaming abandoned town is starting to make a lot more sense. I'm just wishing it didn't. Smaller worms still lunge at me, but I cut them down with ease and absorb their demonic energy on the fly as best I can. They aren't a threat to me at all. There are 3 larger worms, all over 40 demonic energy units. These are the ones that give me trouble. One bite from a beast like that and I'm surely a goner. Every time I lunge out of the way and dodge an attack, the other 2 block my way to exit. They're leading me back to the village, and there's nothing I can do about it. I grit my teeth and turn to face the closest monster with my blade in hand. As it slithers toward me, I run back at it. It's not the safest option for me to choose right now, but with a near A-class level threat behind me, fighting 3 monsters near my own skill level is a much more reasonable goal. Charging my blade to the max, I lunge at it straight on. As the worm tries to swallow me whole, I duck to the side and leave a deep gash along its slimy skin. My blade rips through its flesh like butter, but the worm doesn't hesitate to bend its head backward and go for the kill. I charge my steps and jump in the air high above the worm to dodge while landing another devastating blow on its exposed side. From what I can tell, this one is as good as dead. All seems to be going well, but its 2 battle partners see that I'm not doing my usual running away tactic and join in on the fun to avenge their fallen partner. Damn it! As I fall to the desert floor after critically wounding one of the worms, I fall straight toward the other 2 with no way of changing my trajectory in sight. In a last-moment decision, while falling toward one of their open mouths, I point my left hand straight ahead and channel pure demonic energy out in its purest, refined form. The black matter hits the creature's rows of jagged teeth and punctures its jaw from the inside, causing the stream of dense energy to flow out the other side. Its head flails backward, but it's back in action the instant my feet hit the ground. The second worm, on the other hand, has no such obstacle and is now out of my field of view. It slithers in from my blind spot and goes in for the kill. If not for the vibrations in the sand below my feet, I wouldn't have noticed before it was too late. However, maybe it already is. I manage to spin my body out of the way, but the creature latches onto my left arm. It sees it as the weapon that injured its partner. I clench my jaw as its rows of white teeth crush every bone from my shoulder down in a single crunch. Simultaneously, I use my free arm to cut the head of the beast clean off along with my now unusable arm. It falls to the desert floor squirming, covered in my blood as well as its own. The final worm turns to me. Its teeth are even more jagged than before because of my last attack on it. The hole from my attempt to kill it earlier makes the desert sand behind it visible through its open maw. It faces me with its 2 slain allies scattered on the ground around us. I stare back, slowly bleeding out and breathing heavily. The worm slithers forward. I power up my energy stores and lunge at it. With no support, this mindless worm is no match. I cut it down in 3 clean slashes, and it lies lifeless by its allies. The remains of the dozen enemies that sneak attacked me are scattered across the desert floor, covered in the purple flaming residue even after death. They all begin to dissolve, and I absorb enough energy to bring myself back to full, but don't waste a second to stop and collect their black stones. The monster I'm dreading to meet finally decides to make its move. I shudder as the ground shakes and rumbles. This movement is nothing like the squirming, shifting sensation of the previous attackers. This feels like an earthquake. The only thing that could make such world-shaking movements is a true behemoth, slithering beneath the desert floor, stalking its prey with no thought of danger. I run. The ground beneath me starts to slowly rise, and all I can do is use every last drop of demonic energy my body will allow to propel my steps forward. The white edge of the abyss to the outside world seems to get further and further away the faster I try to run. I manage to outpace the rising hill of sand beneath me, leaving the village about 100 meters behind. But the sight I witness does the opposite of giving me any extra sense of relief. The desert floor rises and pops like a bubble as rows of house-sized teeth erupt from the sand in a perfect circle to swallow the entire village whole. A tidal wave of rippling sand violently comes my way as the A-class threat makes itself known. Chapter 297. I can't believe my eyes. Impossible. I've never seen a creature this size, and have most definitely never faced one this powerful either. If my estimate is correct, the monster before me has the raw stats of a level 900. It's a ranked-up version of whatever the tiny insects were that I just fought. This creature is on a whole different level. The entire village of 24 homes is swallowed into the open maw of this beast without a hint of restraint. With 4 glowing eyes, tough spiked scales around its body, and waves of demonic energy pulsing from its very being. One thing is very clear. I'm no match at all. I continue to run. The rippling rubber-like consistency of the sand floor sends me flying through the air with every few steps I take. It's like attempting to stay upright in a raging storm on the open sea. This demonic worm has control of the entire desert around it. The power feels similar to an earth manipulation ability, but without my mana senses, it's impossible to tell. Still, using my remaining energy stores, I push myself to run with everything I've got. Turning my head back one last time, its open mouth stares at me. It leaks a dark purple aura with hints of crimson light mixed within. Behind that, hundreds of meters of body come slithering out from the crater it's made on the desert floor. The creature's movements are that of an enormous serpent. From here, it looks as if a skyscraper just erupted from the earth. Just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, its entire body ignites into purple flames and dives forward into the ground. The luminescent beast begins swimming through the sand like it's water. I can instantly feel the immense heat its body produces even from here. I turn back to focus on the glistening white wall to the outside world and burn through demonic energy at a rate faster than I even knew was possible. Gritting my teeth and making massive holes in the sand beneath every one of my steps as I propel myself forward with refined energy. I reach for the light. Even so, with every powerful stride I take, the worm creature gets closer and closer. Waves of sand start to distort the desert floor even more violently. They form in front of me now, and not just under my feet. With wide-angled swings of my dagger, small holes in the mounds are blown away for me to lunge through. My vision attempts to tunnel on the approaching white wall to freedom ahead. The worm behind me is getting so close that I can feel the vibrations of its teeth scratching against each other, and the presence of its glowing eyes burn into the back of my neck. Just being near it feels like there's an intimidation skill active on full blast. At the same time, the edge of the abyss is getting even closer. It's less than 30 strides away. All of a sudden, the smaller mounds of sand that previously formed barriers in my path start to drift away. They all head toward the white border, and now the sand lays dormant around me on the desert floor. This is my chance. Not questioning it for a second, I continue to run forward with even more speed. Without having to swing my blade or watch my footing for sinkholes, this makes things a lot easier. The desert is flat and silent. The path before me is clear. My remaining energy stores are under a third. At this pace, I'll be swallowed and ripped to shreds the moment I break through to the outside world. Still, if I can activate my mana-powered skills, I may have a chance. Every small advantage counts. For a full 5 seconds, I manage to match the pace of the worm, but my luck doesn't last. Of course, my hunter wouldn't let me go free that easily. Just a few dozen meters from the border, the sand dunes that moved away earlier begin to swell up together. Instead of dozens of smaller, intricate distractions, the desert floor is starting to rise into a massive wall before my eyes. The flaming worm has led me to a dead end. However, there's still hope. I run up the swell of sand as it begins to consolidate. The upward incline slows my forward momentum, allowing the worm to gain even more distance on me while I climb the ever-rising incline of desert sand. I burn through every last drop of energy in my body, leaving a trail of denser black and purple refined demonic energy in my wake. With every lightning-fast stride, I jump an additional 5 to 10 meters higher into the air. The enormous worm dives directly below me and disappears into the steadily forming wall of mass that I climb. Each step feels like an eternity, but I persevere and manage to reach the top of the moving sandy mound before it fully forms into an enormous sandstone wall. As I jump over it, the flaming worm from the abyss crashes through the base of its own creation, leaving nothing below me but its rows of sharp teeth and the void of swirling energy within its open maw. I pass through the barrier of darkness to light. The purple tint from within the abyss begins to fade. The only thing on my mind is activating my mana sense again to fly away from this creature as fast as I possibly can. The only problem is the demonic energy coursing through my veins and the blade that is completely saturated in my right hand. If I were to try and use mana now, I'd light up in a sea of sparks. My teammates would never know the full story. Most importantly, I wouldn't get the information I'm looking for on the inner circle and its possible ties to the association. If I die right now, I'll actually be in a lot more trouble when I wake up. The view below me is almost entirely a mouth full of teeth, actively swallowing thousands of metric tons of sand in its path. I let out a yell with no better idea than to throw my blade downward, fully charged with energy, as the rows of teeth come up to chomp down on me like an insect in the wind. It glides through the air with wisps of black energy trailing behind it, then hits one of the monstrosity's teeth, letting out a light clink. It manages to leave a small chip in its tooth and bounce off to the side into the desert sand like nothing but a pebble. Meanwhile, I expel every last drop of demonic energy from my veins while the mouth of teeth and violently swirling energy start to close around me. Jets of black energy spill from my right hand out of every finger as I try to expel all of the remaining residue from using my power-ups moments ago. Finally, the world around me shifts from black and white to gold and blue as I reactivate my mana sense and step off the open air using a desperate full-powered wind summoning spell. I thrust myself high into the sky, away from the abyss, expecting to hear the loud chomp of the monster's closing maw echo through my ears and down my spine. It never comes. I don't make it a point to look back and continue using my wind summoning along with every active buff in my arsenal to fly away. The enormous worm fades from my vision. Without switching to demonic energy as a power source, I'm unable to perceive it at all. Only the outline of sand around its body is left in its place. It looks like the desert has a mind of its own, trying to swallow me up into its depths. Using all the air magic I have access to, I shoot straight up for the sky, not thinking about anything other than survival. The churning, grinding, and crashing sounds of sand in the back of my mind start to fade, but I continue upward for a full minute straight. Adrenaline is coursing through my veins, and only when I make it to the cloud line do I think to slow down. I turn to take a look behind me, but there's nothing but open desert and the endless void almost a kilometer away far below. A deep trail of sand follows me but stops about halfway between where I float now and the abyss. I stop air-stepping and only slowly glide backward now to assess the situation further. I made it! A chuckle comes out. I really made it out of there alive. Blood still leaks from the wound on my missing left arm, so I use self-regeneration to heal my injury. My blade, on the other hand, seems to be a lost cause. I really liked that dagger. I bite my bottom lip and come to a halt in the air to stare down at the unmoving desert below. Something isn't right, though. Why would it stop chasing me? I remember back to the demonic wolves that wouldn't take a step out from the abyss unless threatened or it was deemed necessary. They fought their monstrous instincts to stay within the abyss at all costs. Maybe the worm turned back when it lost its prey to the sky. I curiously look closer but see no other sign of the creature in sight. It's like it vanished. My eyebrows scrunch, and my lips tighten while trying to figure out what happened during my run to the sky. Staying on high alert with my heart still beating out of my chest, I slowly drift down to the desert floor a safe distance away. After a slow descent, I land myself atop one of the highest sand dunes far from the abyss. It overlooks the stadium-sized crater left behind by the monster. My feet touch the desert sand, and I activate my demonic vision to get a picture of what's really going on. The sight before my eyes is not what I expected to see at all. Chapter 298. The purple worm's body lies on the desert floor, and it doesn't move forward at all. Other than its mouth opening and closing with rows of teeth churning and grinding against each other and the demonic essence leaking out, the monstrosity stays eerily still. The creature has made its way entirely out of the black abyss, showing off its full body's length of just over 200 meters. Black refined energy oozes out from between its scales, floating up into the air and dissolving while the flickering purple flames begin to die down to conserve its energy. A sight even stranger to my wandering eyes appears. There are small rips in its flesh that are starting to form. The scales curl at their edges, and some even dissolve entirely, falling off to the desert floor. It looks like holes in burning paper as the sun's rays shine down on it. From the growing breaks in its skin, more and more of the black ooze leaks out and floats into the sky, while the desiccated bits drop to the ground. Not only is refined energy dissolving in the air, but raw, unfiltered energy also flows upward, being released from its insides too. The purple flames are hardly visible now. Once the reaction starts, it only speeds up from there. It looks similar to the wolf that I defeated outside of the abyss earlier. The remains of its body are dissolving along with the energy inside of it. As the reaction continues to get worse, it begins to finally move again, writhing in agony. A deep, mind-numbingly loud roar escapes its maw. The refined energy that leaves its body doubles in an instant, and a shock wave of matter pulses from the creature's core. The desert floor shakes as it attempts to manipulate the sand, but the more power it uses, the faster the dissolving rate increases. More pulses of black energy shoot out from its body. My eyes and mouth stay wide open at the sight before me. The worm's head curls up in the air, and its tail end does too. The massive movement lifts immense amounts of sand over 100 meters into the air, while it shakes the entire desert to turn its body a full 180 degrees to face the abyss. Huge portions of its scales and body mass fall off and dissolve into the air. Other portions are left to depreciate on their own in the open desert as they fall off the creature's now mutilated body. It lurches forward to crawl back into the abyss, but its skeletal structure begins to show beneath the decaying body. A near-Arank monster, impossible for me to defeat, is being killed by the sun. Or so it seems, Maybe it's just the open air or the lack of refined demonic energy in the atmosphere. Whatever the cause of this phenomenon is, it saved me from certain doom. As the 4 glowing eyes of the worm creature plunge back into the darkness of the abyss, the reality of the situation hits me. The gut-wrenching feeling following my lapse in judgment and crazed battle sense finally catches up to me. The monster in front of me is an opponent I have no chance of defeating. If demonic creatures can get this strong, then so can mana-based monsters. If mana-based monsters can, this only leads to the conclusion that there are surely hunters capable of subjugating them. This is Sector 4 after all, the weakest of all the Dark Continent regions. I only scratched the outer edge of the abyss. If a beast like that roams nearby without a team of A-class hunters on standby to kill it, that only begs the question. What could possibly be more dangerous than this that they're busy with? Then again, there could be no one else with the ability to wield and perceive demonic energy like me. Maybe they don't even know what possible world-ending threats are lurking so close nearby. It's a reassuring thought. However, I doubt the powers above me are that oblivious. If they can hide the simple fact of mana control from the general public, I'm sure an even deadlier power source can easily be hidden away and only used by those who can wield it. So many questions start racing through my head, and it begins to make me sick. As I watch the back half of the demonic worm start to disappear into the darkness, my clenched jaw and tightened fists begin to relax a bit. I let out a long sigh as the tip of the monster's tail completely vanishes into the void. The only remnants that remain are the enormous pieces of decaying flesh and scales. They too dissolve entirely as I stare into the crater left behind by the monstrous force I narrowly escaped from by the skin of my teeth. I gulp, then drop to my knees and deactivate my demonic vision. Letting the hot sun beam down on me feels very relaxing. I lie on my back and let out a relieved sigh. For the next half hour, I stay in the same spot atop the tallest dune, switching from my demonic vision back to my mana senses over and over to make sure the worm has really left. In the meantime, I eat some food from my item storage and try to heal up as best I can. After that scare and immense use of demonic energy, my body is very fatigued. My mind is a bit rattled as well. It may be from the accelerated forced activation of energy while running away, or it could just be the craziness of the last few days finally catching up to me. Either way, until I don't have any other responsibilities, I won't face the unknown monsters in the abyss again. My entire plan to pick information from the inner circle and find the links to the association, along with saving Lydia, was almost ruined completely by my blind curiosity. There is one last thing I need to check. I hop down from the dune and activate my all-seeing eye along with advanced earth summoning. All of the worm's fragments are long gone and dissolved, but I'm hoping I'll be able to find something that I left behind. Even in a damaged state, it'd be nice not to waste nice things. I sift through the sand near the edge of the abyss from a safe range using my elemental earth summoning skill until a glossy black glimmer catches my eye. The dagger that managed to make a chip in the monster's tooth floats toward me from over 50 meters away as I use my telekinesis to bring it near. After a quick examination with both my demonic vision and mana sense, I come to the interesting conclusion that it's completely undamaged. Also, the blade leaked out all of its remaining energy stores on its own. There isn't a hint of power remaining in it. If I'm not constantly feeding it energy, the blade becomes dull. Good to know. Air-stepping away from the abyss, I place the dagger back into my item storage while pondering its origins. The fact that the high orc I faced in the abyss had similar weapons and gear, but couldn't imbue energy into them, piques my curiosity. On top of that, to stand up against a creature with A-class strength and not chip or crack at all. It's another baffling thought. Although it didn't do much damage back to the monster either, I'm still impressed at the raw strength my new blade holds. I fly through the air while keeping my distance from the darkness on my left side. Meanwhile, a thin smile grows on my face. At least I learned some valuable information from my experience with an overwhelmingly powerful entity. It's better to be happy I didn't get a major setback. Rather learn to step with more caution in unknown environments moving forward. The sun will set in a few hours, so I still have plenty of time to do a checkup on the village and observatory before heading back to Soloera. Over an hour passes as I make my way back. Once the vacant desert huts and white dome atop the cliffside come into view, I activate all my perception skills to do a full detailed sweep. I pause my flight path in midair and activate stealth as two unfamiliar mana-based enemy readings pop up on my radar. Chapter 299. Up in the observatory, I sense the mana readings of two humans. Although I'm a great distance away, I still instinctually hide with stealth and drop down closer to the desert floor for cover after the events that unfolded just over an hour ago in the abyss. To my surprise, the two readings are both between levels 300 and 330. My gaze tightens and I start to drift closer again. One has a swordsmanship skill, and the other has an extreme speed buff skill of 35%. These are fairly common combat skills, but considering their levels, these two are far from amateurs. They could be grunts for the inner circle, but they don't wear those fancy pins. So, possibly they're Solaren guards tasked with searching the abandoned observatory to collect equipment they missed during the evacuation. My guess is the former. Either way, this is very suspicious and worth my while to check out. My only task for the last few days has been to keep an eye on the town and observatory. I should take it seriously now that there's actually something going on. Lower levels below 400, like these, can't perceive me while I'm in stealth mode no matter what. It'd just look and feel like a breeze is passing through when I approach. Especially those with zero perception skills or any signs of mana control. I continue to drift closer, making my way past the abandoned town and higher into the sky, just to be extra cautious not to turn up any loose sand with my wind summoning ability. As I do, a gray pulse of energy flies out from the top of the white dome. It vibrates as it disappears into the abyss. My eyes track it all the way into the darkness. I've seen the white dome expel this energy a few dozen times now, but it still makes no sense to me. If I get the chance, I'll have to figure out what that beam really does too. It's not at the top of my priority list but does stick out in the back of my mind. As I get closer to the white dome up on the hill, the size of the structure starts to become clearer. The observatory is much larger than I initially thought. A closer inspection, it's a lot more detailed too. Now that I'm floating up above it, I can see the back that faces the abyss in full view. Instead of just flat white walls that curve up into a dome on all sides as it appears from the village area, there's a 7-meter-wide rectangular opening in the roof. It starts at the point where the dome begins to curve and stops close right at the top of the structure. This makes sense. It's where all of the stargazing gear and technology would point up to the desert sky, facing away from the town. However, from here it seems the old telescopes and astronomy tech have been stripped out, and new silver magical poles and wires create this oddly shaped sonar device. All of the miscellaneous gear and materials dully glow and pulse with the same gray energy I witnessed earlier. The scattered wires and magical items are charging up a thick metal rod that leads to a clear orb at its top, peeking out from the opening in the roof. The longer I watch and stare, the more the orb fills with the gray glowing energy. It gets brighter and brighter, almost turning white. Seconds pass, and it fills to the brim before releasing another crescent of the energy substance out into the darkness. It vanishes again once entering. I attempt to use my appraisal skill along with my all-seeing eye to understand what this structure is doing, but the readings I get back only confuse me further. Half of the text boxes show up as blank or question marks, while the other half just show dozens of mana crystals that power up the makeshift device. While attempting to decipher what all the text says, another charged-up pulse flies into the darkness like clockwork. Meanwhile, the two figures I caught on my radar earlier start to come closer. I'm over 20 meters in the air above the structure and in my full stealth mode, so there's no way they'd notice me. I drift down closer, landing gently on the roof of the dome of the observatory near the opening. I'm close enough to snoop through the rectangular opening but far enough away that the next pulse of energy won't hit me. The device is buzzing and humming. It only gets louder the closer I approach, and it grows in volume even greater the closer it is to being fully charged. One of the workers' voices sounds out through all the noise. I use my heightened senses to make out the words of a young man's voice. He can't be older than his mid-20s by the sound of it. "Hey, it's about that time again. We have to restock the mana crystals or they'll run out soon." Another older-sounding raspy voice replies as the device nears its limit, rattling the surrounding roof and supporting beams. Yeah, I know. We have to clean up the basement area beneath the shielding once the boss is done too. They're having an important meeting tomorrow morning. Another sector leader is coming to town. The buzzing is starting to become unbearable, but I still hear the younger man reply in a surprised yet shaky tone. Really? Another leader is coming to Sector 4? No wonder we have the day off tomorrow. The older man laughs and then starts to speak, but he's cut off by the blast of the sonar beam. Another gray crescent of light shoots off into the dark, foggy abyss below the cliff area. It takes a few seconds for the ringing in my ears to cease, but by the time I recover, the two men are already walking away. The younger one keeps talking in a more relaxed manner now. Well, the restock is done. Now we just have to sort that gear and wait for the boss to open the shielding and give the okay to do our cleanup. The older one replies, talking about what he had for lunch before their voices start fading and the buzzing of the mechanism increases, overwhelming my senses again. My mind is piecing together their words, but only some things are clicking. First things first, I have verbal confirmation that we're in the right place. Talking about sector leaders and this mysterious boss being here, along with an important meeting scheduled for tomorrow, is a good sign. Second of all, if my assumptions here are correct, another inner circle higher-up is coming to meet here. That's most likely the craftsman, but I won't know for sure until I see for myself. If this is the case, it also means that this number 1 boss of the Sector 4 region is not at the top of the food chain. How interesting. Puzzled over the new information I've gathered, I sit and wait, letting the blast of energy from the makeshift device shoot off into the abyss over half a dozen more times. Then, my perception senses pick up a large mana reading appearing from underground. My all-seeing eye perceives a massive door sliding open, shedding new light into the inner workings of the basement of this observatory. Just moments ago, this layer of the building was completely invisible. I try to fathom what's going on, stretching my perception into the new area to search. It's impossible to see anything exactly, but with all the new excess mana floating in the air, I'm able to pick up on the presence of 2 more people. I gulp, unable to read any of the status features of one of the newly found members. I can only assume they're locked in the same mana-binding cuffs I was trapped in days earlier. The other reading drops my jaw as the blue text appears in my mind's eye. LV 651. Active items. Enchanted Ring of Protection, IC. Plus 125% defense. Enchanted Ring of Protection, IC. Plus 125% defense. Enchanted Ring of Protection, IC. Plus 125% defense. Platinum Amulet of Protection, IC. Plus 110% defense. Platinum Amulet of Strength, IC. Plus 100% strength. Red Ogre's Ring of Attack, plus 100% strength. Plus 100% speed. Red Ogre's Gauntlet of Rage, plus 100% strength. Plus 100% speed. Magma Serpent Scale, plus 90% fire magic resistance. Plus 40% all magic resistance. Dark Goblin King's Charm, plus 10% mana control output. High-grade AAA class shielding artifact, 9 out of 10, IC. Active skills, Body Hardening, Legendary Grade. Extreme Defense, Legendary Grade. Extreme Strength, Special Grade. Stealth, Buff, Solid Steel Defense. Only one thought comes to mind. This must be the organization's leader. Number 1. The man in charge of the Inner Circle's dealing in Sector 4. Chapter 300. Whoever this is, they're definitely the leader. They have the IC branding all over their gear, along with that shielding artifact that every one of their lackeys had on. With demonic energy, I'm sure I could take him out, but not questioning him and killing the man on the spot would do more harm than good. I'd have to use mana to subdue him properly, and his level and gear stats are much higher than mine. The idea of breaking through the ceiling and rushing down to fight this mob boss crosses my mind, but after the mental and physical fatigue from my defeat just hours ago, it does not seem like the best option. I may have dozens of skills at my disposal, but raw strength may win if we were to fight right now. Plus, with the recent close call and lesson learned about fighting unknown enemies when more than just my own well-being is on the line, I decide to take this small victory of information and retreat. Before I slowly glide away from the white dome in silence, a stern man's deep voice rings out. With my enhanced senses, it's audible from 2 floors below. I stop, hovering in midair to listen. All right, you two. I'll be examining the sonar's data for the rest of the night. Clean up the cells downstairs. Then give number 2 her reminder to meet here at sunrise with the captives and a written list of all the information they've gathered. After that, you're both free to do whatever you'd like tomorrow. I don't need your assistance. There are a few replies from the grunts as I feel the presence of the strong man walking up the stairs to the main top floor. Their voices are completely drowned out by the loud sound of the sonar device blasting off another energy wave. I take this as my cue to see myself out, continuing my flight path upward and not looking back until the white dome is completely out of view. There's no telling how long I could stay hidden with a monster of a man lurking below me. His mana control is most likely on par with, if not greater than, my main body. Not to mention the nearly 10x natural defense stat bonus he has with all the buffs. If I have to get into a physical confrontation with him tomorrow, I'll need to spend tonight coming up with a plan to safely deal with the matter. Plus, another sector leader is coming too. Preparing for the absolute worst is necessary. There are a lot of unknown factors at play here, and with the limited time allotted to me, I can't do this one all on my own. If this craftsman requires my full attention, I may have to rely on my teammates for help. While these thoughts race through my mind, I finally break through the cloud line above and whisper under my breath. Bottom line is, all of us are going to have to get a lot stronger. I airstep all the way back to Solara, only touching down to the ground and turning off my stealth skill once I make it into the outer residential district on the northeastern edge of town. The sun is starting to set, but it's still fairly light out. There should still be over an hour left of golden rays. Once I make it back to the familiar front porch of the 2-story home, the only one waiting there is Chester. He's outside, peacefully admiring the city. It makes sense. The others are still off training and guarding the black market's dead zone. The old man raises his hand and waves as I approach. Welcome back so soon. You'll be happy to see the haul I pulled in for your loot today. I raise an eyebrow, turning my stern expression from being deep in thought all the way here into a grin. Oh yeah? How much did you manage to sell? The gray-haired man turns and opens his front door, letting me come inside to see 3 brown leather sacks on the middle table of the living room. Gold coins are flowing from their openings, and at least 10 or 15 coins are scattered across the counter. Chester lets out a chuckle as he sees my eyes light up at the sight. Last I counted, there were about 263 gold coins, more than double my expectations. Most of the high D-grade and below gear was sold off at standard quick-sell pricing to my usual contacts, but I managed to snag an over-the-market price at one of the old trading dens. A few old clients happened to be all in the same place. There was quite the bidding war for a few of the larger C-grade weapons and enchanted battle items. I cross my arms, and my smile only widens as he continues. There's apparently a Solaran government-hosted auction tonight. Many merchants and speculators are trying to get their hands on worthy items to enter and see massive gains. It's just your lucky day. I was able to get exceptionally inflated prices. I pause, thinking to myself about the amount of money I just pulled in. At first, I only wanted to sell it off because most of the gear was worthless to me. D and C rank items will break on impact with any of the monsters I'll fight in the future. I'd be better off using my fists. If I can't channel mana into it or the gear gives me close to a 100% buff or greater, I hardly bat an eye. However, now that I've come into contact with the leader of the so-called weakest sector, my head is spinning for other options. Fisher and Ari are ranked up, but they still will not stand a chance against that menace. Maria's ice magic may give them an edge if she jumped in, and Abby is the perfect support. Even so, they're all too weak to confidently put them up against a level 651 tank alone. Their lives are on the line this time, not mine. If I want to fully prepare for what's to come, I need to come up with a way for us all to get a lot stronger overnight. I let out a long sigh, then finally turned to Chester, asking a question. What's the lowest cost you can get high-grade mana potions for on short notice? Let's say I were to use that entire gold stash to purchase. His eyes widen, but he scratches his chin and starts thinking too. You really know how to keep an old man busy now, don't ya? He stares up at the ceiling and mumbles under his breath. Now let's see. Down at the dispensary, the owner can turn raw mana crystals into potions. At the market price of 1 bronze per mana point worth of crystal, and 100 bronze equaling 1 silver. He pauses. 100 silver equals 1 gold, so each gold piece here would be equivalent to around 10,000 MP worth of potion. I roll my eyes at the thought of it. 10,000 times 263 gold we have is only 2.6 million MP. This is a small fortune worth of mana, but it's nowhere close to enough to raise our mana control considerably. Tens of millions each is the only amount that would raise any of us by a measurable amount. Chester speaks again. However, here on the Dark Continent, the demand for potions and high-grade crystals is far less than that of the cities you come from. Weapons are the higher-tier items that people are usually looking to buy. It's more practical to make a living with them. I'd say if we're buying any potions or crystal items, it could knock the price down by 2 to 3 times. So, 30,000 MP per gold coin. Shaking my head while realizing even at this price drop advantage, it's still less than 8 million MP, I reply. Still, this isn't enough. Silence fills the room as we think. My recent shift in necessities is due to the fact it's the only way we could all get immeasurably stronger in the next few hours. With Abby's restore skill and an unlimited mana supply, maybe our control levels could hit a point where handling these threats wouldn't be so stacked against us. I speak up again, thinking of a new idea. You mentioned the Solaran government is hosting an auction. What exactly is sold in a gathering like this?